Ever since I could remember, I wanted to be a gangster.
We have a lineup and all the girls come out and then he picks which one he likes.
In a legal brothel.
Those early days in Vegas were some of the best times of my life. We lived like kings and didn't have a care in the world.
That interest eventually led to some work he did for a small bordello in a residential Las Vegas neighborhood.
We did what we wanted to do, when we wanted to do it, and however we wanted. And although dealing with prostitutes and Johns could be difficult, they were easy work compared to what was to come. There's several, actually 9 flying saucers.
When you add it all up, Lazar says he's an easy target to discredit.
A group of Hell's Angels bikers showing up as spectators at the federal district court.
It's obvious it's very difficult to get information on this. It will go out.
Of which the most easily verifiable is my early 1980s job here at the Los Alamos Mason Physics Facility in Los Alamos, New Mexico.
Be special in Japan.
And I got people telling me, well, I don't see why you don't believe him. He seems so sincere. Sincerity is not a check on truth.
A-Rod and I are going to go out on a search and destroy mission trying to find those enemies of you that are...
And if I ask you on camera, do you know Bob Lazar, can you just say no?
I did sit silently.
Our methodology of the study of yoga based upon the concept of the martial way.
Dude, we gotta do a talk show on fucking Showtime. That's what we gotta do.
I'm not looking for a handout, nor do I expect any sympathy. I simply tell you this because I want it on the record.
Remember, not everyone who sees a disc in the sky is crazy, so keep your eye on the sky, especially here in Central Nevada, and thanks for listening.
This summer, Martin Scorsese presents Bob Lazar.
What do you think of like David Grusch coming forward?
That's dynamite. I mean, it really is. I can only hope that some more people come out.
Would you talk in front of Congress if I set that up? Would you give your testimony under those same circumstances under oath? Would you throw down one last time?
I fought the fight for 30 years, and I'm kind of happy the way it is now. The last thing I want to do is stir the pot again. So yeah. I can say under oath everything I said before is true, and that's all there is to it.
All right, we're here. Let us know if you could hear us in the comments. How we doing, panel?
Pretty good, buddy. How are you?
Yay. Super fire edit there, right? And it fucking worked great for today. I feel like that fucking trailer. All the little names there mentioned.
I forgot that clip of Corbell and Lazar, dude. Forgot about that.
Did you put it together today?
That was Moran Lerner, I think like a year or two ago. Yeah. So I guess we should just get into it then, huh? Because and I think we're only going to do 3 of them. We're going to do George Knapp, because his is 7 pages, and I got like relevant material kind of when something's referenced. And then we're going to do, and I'm going to put on some music too. And hopefully, probably going to play that again too with music later, so I don't think it will get copyrighted. But I don't think we're going to do Jeff Nicatelli and Wiggins, although Wiggins, that's the homie right there, bro. I stand with Wiggins. But the George Knapp one's so long, so we're gonna go through that, and there's like a bunch of shit in there that's kind of interesting, and also maybe detrimental. And then we're gonna go through the new guy, what's his name, Dylan Borden, right? His was kind of interesting, or Borland. And then the surprise guest or surprise witness. Did you guys see this? There was a surprise witness.
I did, yeah.
That I think just adds to all the behavior that we've been seeing and the kind of weird. The weird shuffling around we've been seeing doing around certain figures. Tuba, did you peek who the surprise guest was?
Nah, this is all new to me.
Oh, should we just we'll just say I'm not even gonna tell you what it even relates to. Okay. Forget where the music is. Been a minute. What should we listen to while we do this? Okay. So I think we're just gonna like read it, right? Like and then I have it was kind of hard to figure out like how exactly I should do this, but here we go.
I know you opened up all these documents for the show and went, oh, there's a lot
I was like, oh god, here we go. And I was already working on the
yeah.
other stream. The other stream's gonna be fun though. It's just going through all their little jobs that they've done, napping Corbell and just S-tiering them.
Yeah, that should be a lot of fun, yeah.
So this is his, right? Yeah, this 7-pager.
Yeah, it's an app, dude.
I guess I'll just go for it unless anyone is feeling hella reedy today. No, it's cool. Okay, got it.
We can alternate pages or something.
Popcorn reading. Okay, so this was released today, a few hours ago. For the record of the Committee on Oversight and Accountability, hearing on unidentified anomalous phenomena, September 9th, 2025. Good morning, Chairwoman Luna, Ranking Member Crockett, and members of the task force. I am George Knapp, Chief Investigative Reporter for KLAS TV in Las Vegas, not a whistleblower, and not a UFO witness, as far as I can remember, that is. My pursuit of the UFO mystery and the many rabbit holes attached to it started in 1987, 38 years ago. Nearly every day since then, I get asked the question, do I believe in this UFO stuff? Do I believe in aliens or ETs? And my answer is no. Belief has nothing to do with it. Oh, I love the drama there. I love the drama there, dude. Fucking
Dude, I stopped right away when I was reading. I was like, oh, we're doing that today, George. Got it. Okay.
Surreal ask, is the surprise guest Big Homie? No, I'm just kidding. Great guess, though. Belief has nothing to do with it. To me, it is, and always has been, a news story and an important one. Likely the biggest story I will ever cover. I'm not sure if there's another reporter working for a mainstream news organization who has stuck with this story as long, nor could I imagine anyone would want to do so. And I think that is true, right?
Give Greenstreet a few more years.
Oh, true. But yeah, I mean, he's been around for a minute. Do I have the... I don't have the bar.
Yeah, he's kind of the main guy, dude. He is, yeah.
Yeah, okay. We'll just continue then. Okay. It is a great honor to be asked to participate here and also an honor to be seated with these 3 men. Oh, shit. So there's even a surprise for George, bro, because there's 5 people going to be there. When it was first announced 2 days ago or whatever when it was 4 people, right? We had Dylan Borden, the person no one knew. We had Chief Wiggins, the active duty Navy guy who filmed the Tic Tac. We had Jeff. Does anyone have the proper pronunciation of Jeff's last name?
Nucatelli is the way I would say it.
He was the witness to the witnesses of Vandenberg. Can we make that stick? Witness to the witness? I like that. And then we had George Knapp, right? So today when they put these papers online, there was a 5th name there. This dude, Jeffrey Spielberger, or Joe Spielberger. So surprise witness, and it looks like it's even a surprise for George here. Does anyone find that interesting or no? Am I just looking into everything?
Yeah, I think that's interesting. Definitely.
Got him, bro. Is it a setup, dude? Damn.
Mike, it says minority witness. Do you know what that means? I don't know what minority witness means.
Yeah, because that new guy is minority.
Is the minority house calling the witness very possibly? I don't know.
Maybe. If anyone in the comments wants to maybe Google that or anything, please do. But it is a great honor to be asked to participate here and also an honor to be seated with these 3 men. Again, now it should say 4. He'll probably say 4 tomorrow. It is daunting to testify under oath in front of Congress and essentially the whole world, especially about something as sensitive and controversial as this. No matter how things go here today, this will likely change their lives. It takes courage for them to step into the spotlight because they know they will be pummeled for it. The barrage started on social media as soon as the names were announced, as it did for members of this task force. That's interesting. I feel like Sawan's already cooking stuff up in the back channels or something. Let's.
Can I just say the minority witness, according to AI, is a congressional. When it comes to congressional hearings, refers to an individual selected by the minority party members of a committee to testify on a specific measure or matter. So yeah, it would be, I guess, the minority. Who has the House right now? They say the Republicans have the House, so this would be someone the Democrats had called.
Interesting. Okay, thank you for that. And that'll be for the. I think we're going to save him for last. The surprise witness, Spielberger. Yeah. That's good to know, and we'll rehash that when we get there. The residents of UFO world are a tough crowd. They expect nothing less than for House staffers to wheel in a slab with a charred alien body on it, or arrange a media tour where we travel to Wright-Patterson and kick open the doors to the Blue Room to see the crashed saucers. I understand that impatience and was the same way. During my first deep dive into the subject, I remember realizing this topic is a mess. And I concluded that what it needed was a good reporter. I can have this sorted out in about 6 months. Youthful cockiness and naivety is not a good combination. I kind of like that he's kind of being like, I don't know, this is a big milestone for him. I guess that's chill. I don't know. Anyone have any thoughts on that first little part before we continue along? If not, we'll just keep going. Topic 1, the paper trail. What hooked me on the subject was not the tales of crashed saucers or Area 51. It was the paper trail, the massive piles of government documents which paint a very different picture than what the public is told about UFOs. The first time I saw some of them, they literally walked in the door under the arm of a guy named John Lear, son of Bill Lear, developer of the Lear jet, who had helped our TV station break a big story years earlier, a story about the testing of a plane out in the Nevada desert, a plane that was invisible to radar. It turned out it was the F-117, the Nighthawk, the stealth fighter. It proved to be real. All right.
Now,
yeah,
John Lear being the man who thought there were 2 million men on the moon. And rest in peace, by the way, John Lear.
Yeah, but I loved hearing him talk about it, though. It was fun.
That's
hearing
a
about
great
2 million.
point, because like this is the first person he names, right? And I don't know. We're in front of Congress. I want to put on our best face. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
is that the
John
best?
Lear is not. I mean, look, if I'm thinking you're going to lead your best horse out of the stable, right? I mean, John Lear was not our best horse, but okay,
Didn't they like hate each other too when he died or something like that? Didn't they have some falling out?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know about that at all.
That's true.
I don't think so.
Because wasn't Corbell like working on some whole documentary and then he wasn't even included in the Lazar?
There was
Corbell and Lear
something
had
at
trouble.
the end. Corbell and the family had some trouble, I think, as I recall.
Yeah, Corbell wanted to do the documentary on Lear, and then he had one of the rights for it, and the wife took it over and said that he couldn't make the documentary on Lear, and so there was a bunch of trouble. That's, I think, supposedly why he went and did the Lazar doc, not the Lear doc, supposedly.
Mm.
All right, let's continue here. Later, Lear returned to KLAS and brought a stack of paper, and in that stack were dozens of pages of legitimate documents squeezed out of the U.S. government through the use of FOIA. The public has been told over and over since the late 1940s that there is nothing to worry about. These things aren't real. They're not a threat. The witnesses are crackpots. But FOIA forced the Air Force, CIA, FBI, NASA, and other agencies to release thousands of pages of internal memos and reports and candid assessments written in complete candor, long before anyone knew FOIA would exist in the future. It was clear that they told each other. It was clear that what they told each other behind closed doors was the opposite of what they told the public. I'll just add, I'm very aware of that kind of fact too, and that's kind of why the way I operate the way I do in terms of all this weird hate group stuff, because like people think that like secrets are secrets, and history kind of says the opposite, bro. we be knowing a lot of stuff about dead people that they probably didn't think everyone would know about. They lied and are still lying to the public and to Congress. The documents show that military and intelligence personnel admitted that, quote, these are real, not fictitious, that they fly information, are evasive, and outperform any aircraft known to exist, including ours. He should have named whoever said that, I feel like, at that point. That is what hooked me. I was ticked off that they were lying to us. Given our time constraints, I won't list key documents here, but I'm forwarding a detailed list so you can read them yourselves. Nice, George. Hell yeah. Including a report prepared for you, members of Congress, by the Congressional Research Service, and I can recommend the name of a few highly credible UFO document archives where members and staff can read the material for yourselves. Okay.
Dude, I love that. For the sake of time, I've shortened this down to a mere 8 pages. Like, okay.
Yeah, what do you think he thought when he saw that the other ones were like a page and a half? I think he was like, fuck.
I think he's old enough and also like just been in the scene long enough to justify the length of this. I'm gonna be honest. I like Knapp. He's been in the game for so long.
Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't want him to be rushed. I want him to just breathe, enjoy it, soak it in, reminisce. I fuck with that, to be honest. He has been in the game so long.
Yeah, milk it.
In that list of documents, though, can he send over the map that leads us to the 115, please? Thank you.
Oh shoot, I didn't even include that on here, but that's a great point. Again, and that's great. We're about to get there too. So the time constraints, yeah. Oh, also that's what I was gonna say too. Is this why they're doing that kind of like push on weaponized to like create this new FOIA crew? Because they don't want people to go to Greenwald or something. I kind of get that vibe, but it's kind of in the weeds. Topic 2: crash retrievals and reverse engineering programs. Parentheses, they're real. Back in 1989, I was not aware that I was diving into the deep end of the pool when I reported about Bob Lazar and S4, the place out near Area 51 where Lazar said there was a reverse engineering program underway. So right off the bat, what did you guys all think when you? Because I'm pretty sure we all read this a little bit, at least right before here, because we were curious. And we've seen people talk about it. What do you think of Lazar, dude? We got Lear, and then second name drop, we got Lazar. We're going all in.
I mean, these are the two people that made him extremely famous. So at some point, like, he's got to kind of talk about this story, right? Obviously I don't want to like spoil what you're going to read here going forward, but I just wish he would delve further into some other claims that he's made down the road, but you'll continue to read here.
And I agree here. Yeah, no. And that's why I have my avatar here right now. We have, Bob Lazar. Bob Lazar is going to Congress, people. I think at some point he's going to go in front of Congress. I don't know when, but I think this starts that domino effect.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, this is basically that. This is that. I mean, sure, maybe he could go too, but like, I don't know. I don't know if I was gaming all this stuff out, if I would have put Lazar, because like, I don't know. How do you guys all feel about Lazar?
Love him.
I don't believe him. I don't believe his story. I think the John Lear links, which we could go into, if we do a whole episode on this, is just too much for me. I think there's way too many openings for John to have written that story, and then they worked on it together for a long time. So I'm not with Lazar personally.
Yeah, I actually bet against him appearing. I think I owe somebody $20. I didn't think his name was going to get mentioned at all. I thought it would have been like a landmine to step on. But whatever. Look at George go, man.
One other thing is that Corbell had quoted Bob Lazar saying that he doesn't owe the UFO community to go do that, which I don't agree with. I think the UFO community, if he's telling the truth, gave enough exposure to save his life, and therefore he owes the UFO community his life if he's telling the truth, then, in my opinion. So I think he does owe them to go. So I think he should, but I don't think that he will.
Remember, it was like actually kind of like awkward like a year or two ago when like Eric Weinstein was saying like, hey, let's all go on Rogan and discuss this stuff. And he's like, no, I'm good.
I want to see that too. Yeah.
Either. And I did play this in the intro, but let's play it again here.
What do you think of like David Grusch coming forward?
That's dynamite. I mean, it really is. I can only hope that some more people come out.
Would you talk in front of Congress if I set that up? Would you give your testimony under those same circumstances under oath? Would you throw down one last time?
I fought the fight for 30 years, and I'm kind of happy the way it is now. The last thing I want to do is stir the pot again. So yeah. I can say under oath everything I said before is true, and that's all there is to it.
So that sounds like a yes. You know what I mean? It sounds like he would say it under oath, and he would say, everything he said previously. So,
Chupa, do you believe the Bob Lazar story? Where are you at on that?
I think it's interesting. It's part of the lore. It's undeniably part of the lore. It gave us, S4, Area 51. But personalities, I think he's great, but I couldn't care less about what he says and the stuff that's like not backed up by evidence and stuff. I think it's really cool stories. It's good to have that in our in our view, to be able to cross-reference new data as it comes up. But we found out everything we can find out from Lazar, and so like we just got to save that story and see what checks out and what doesn't. But it's
what do you think Jeremy Reese is doing right now? Should I send him the invite? He's probably having a panic attack. I'd imagine there's there's a whole subsection of ufology that's just like the debunkers of Lazar. There's a bunch of websites of it, and maybe that's sketch, maybe it's not, but I don't know. There are a lot of holes. And real quick before we continue, I do have it kind of sparse like this. And sorry, Trestro, because actually you were in the other stream, so you might be seeing some things. But we got the OGs there. I got the new. I learned how to maximize the grift with the thumbnails. Keep it simple. Let's see this. There we go.
We've talked about UFOs, if they're real, and what the government knows. There's a fight for disclosure happening on Capitol Hill right now. I sat down with award-winning journalist George Knapp for an exclusive interview. He's been reporting on this topic for WNCT's Vegas sister station, KLAS, since the 1980s. Here's part 3.
Bob Lazar said he worked at a secret facility near Groom Lake where alien technology was being reverse engineered.
Bob did that interview with us, the live interview. He used a suit on him. We blacked out his face, but his bosses knew who he was. And they called him immediately after. And the line that they gave him was, "Do you know what's going to happen to you now?"
Knapp told me that Lazar had threats on his life that seemed straight out of a Hollywood movie.
He was carrying a gun. He went to a gym with a friend of his. They go to the gym. They lock the door. His gun is in the car. They come out an hour later. The doors to the car are open. The windows are rolled down. This Uzi that he had in the car is laying on the front seat. They just made it pretty clear that they were following him and were messing with him. And I know that we were followed as well because some of the guys who did it years later told me about it.
KLAS's phones were tapped.
6 people I talked to on the phone the very next day were visited by government agents who told them to shut the hell up.
Now, decades later, U.S. representatives say the Pentagon is still stonewalling their attempts at disclosure.
Members of Congress who sit on judiciary, armed services, and the oversight committees are being denied access to this information.
Whistleblower David Grusch has echoed Lazar's claims, but he says Congress has failed to act in a meaningful way.
What we're witnessing right now is, quite frankly, the greatest legislative failure in American history.
So yeah, that's just, just kind of get us in the vibe of Lazar again. Let's go here. Okay, back to it. Topic 2, we're on page 2. Let's see. Back in 1989, I was not aware that I was diving into the deep end of the pool when I reported about Bob Lazar in S4, the place out near Area 51 where Lazar said there was a reverse engineering program underway. That's what I wanted to say too, and it's kind of interesting that clip brought it up. Grusch basically co-signed this whole thing, right? Is that how we all understand it from like the various statements from Burleson and Luna? Does that mean Grusch is all in on Lazar? Or like, what do you guys think that?
It's kind of hard to walk that back and say that Grusch, you would really have to get Grusch on the record about that. But, I do think there is some tacit approval of Lazar through his affiliation with Jeremy. You know what I mean? Like, I think Lazar is a big part of Jeremy Corbell's persona. And if you, willingly fraternize with Jeremy, you would think that might rub off on you.
What percentage is it that like they all know it's bullshit, but they all like are just in so deep? That would actually be a hilarious outcome. Like, not for the good of the movement, but like when they make a movie about it, if that is the case, like it's just hilarious. I don't know. I find it very funny if that's the case. Not saying it's the case, but I don't know, man. To me, the red flags was like, why would they give him all this info within like what, 2 days of working there or something like that? Like, if that did happen as he described, seems like more of a street theater thing, or they wanted him to like relay that information.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's an op. It's an op. I mean, at very best, it's an op, and he was not really exposed to things he should have been. But who knows how much of that is true still.
And Roku got a super chat. Thank you, brother. Beats and meats. No way someone is going to go under oath before Congress as a whistleblower and lie their ass off. So I believe anyone who goes before Congress under oath, they're telling the truth as they know it. I mean, yeah, right.
Yeah, but that's the catch, though. That's the catch, though. I mean, if you believe it's true and it's not, they can't hit you for that. So it doesn't really make a difference, right? That's why. That's the weird thing of why like Knapp doesn't touch, and you'll see as you go on here, he doesn't touch about how he talks about he knows where the 115 is. Knows where Bob put it. Maybe when Bob dies, he'll go dig it up. I mean, that's disclosure if he has that. I mean, you don't need any of this other stuff at this point, like from George, if he can just put that forward. So I think him glazing over that or glossing over it and not even bringing that up, I really hope they question him about that statement tomorrow, man. It's big.
Panda, you're muted. You know that?
Uh-oh. Sorry. Thank you for letting me know. I did not know that.
We do know
For you,
now that
Castro.
research into anti-gravity is at the top of the list of what American tech companies are doing and Defense Department folks are doing, and anti-gravity propulsion is something they want very badly. Bob said that the key to it was this element 115. He had a piece of it. I saw it. In fact, he had a little experiment they did with what's called a cloud chamber, where they had, it looked to me like light. They had a piece of this 115 in this chamber. They put some smoke in it, and it seemed, and then had a beam of light through it, and the light bent. Bob, at one point, when he thought he was going to die, had this piece of 115 in a, it was in a lead casing, in a disc-shaped casing, and he had it in front of a particle accelerator at his house, and he had the accelerator on, and all he had to do was flip a button. If this stuff was real, as he described it, flipping that button would hit it with, I don't know, it's protons or electrons, whatever it was, that would make it explode, an annihilation that would have left a great big hole in Las Vegas. And he had that piece. I saw the experiment. What happened to it, that's a story for another time. It's in a spot now where nobody could get to it, but it's still there. One of these days, maybe after Bob's gone, I'll go dig it up.
How does he not answer for that, right? How does he not? There's no way that can get taken over tomorrow or glossed over. No way.
I honestly never even got the hype of the 115 because, like, I think Manny said in the chat, like, when people were like, he predicted element 115. Oh my God. It's like, couldn't anyone have predicted that? Isn't it just like the periodic table? Like,
yeah, it's literally the next element. Like, you can just say element 119. I have it. And then eventually it'll be like, oh, we do have it. I mean, there's probably so many, but yeah, you're right there. And it was like this thing. Remember when Corbell said that he had video evidence to Joe Rogan? He's like, I got video evidence of element 115. And it was just some like off-centered shot of some jar. And it was like,
oh,
what?
what? That happened? Let me look that
yeah,
up.
dude. Yeah. And Joe was like, I don't know what that is.
If I remember right, too, but George Knapp was asked about that video, that experiment that he's actually talking about in this video right here, this clip. And he said that tape is missing. He doesn't know where it is anymore, lost it amongst all his stuff, which is another weird one, huh? It's not a strange one. Ufology strikes again, I guess.
Oh, no.
Dude, oh,
Whoops.
man. I can't find it. Okay, no, we'll just continue without it.
Does anybody else find it disturbing that he was like just sitting there with this particle accelerator and he could just like blow up half of Vegas? That seems a little disturbing.
A little bit, yeah, but was that just a bullshit story? That's the thing, too. I feel like there's a lot of people in this field who just like bullshit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but what if it's not? You know what I mean? Like, still, it's a pretty big public health concern. This guy is possibly running around with materials that are extremely explosive when they're put near a particle accelerator. So,
and you remember too, Balthazar already had that like weird FBI raid, so it seems like maybe the authorities don't even care if he did have it. But I don't know. Okay, so let me read it. Sorry, fun little Lazar thing though to flesh this out. I'm well aware of the objections and questions about Lazar. It does not matter to me whether people believe him or not, and I won't litigate it yet again. If I did not believe him, I would not still be reporting on his claims. KLAS news director Robert Stoldahl and I knew this investigation was risky for the station, so we approached it cautiously. This was a potentially huge story, but we needed more than just Lazar to move forward. And so we went to work. I appealed on the air and asked people who had knowledge of this to contact me, and over time they did. I had more than 24 sources with bits and pieces of the same story who spoke to us. The most alarming development in that process is that I spoke to 6 people, 6 in a row, on my phone in the newsroom, who agreed to tell me their stories, some of them under the condition that we disguise their identities. And 6 people right in a row were visited the very next day after speaking to me by government agents, security from former employers, men in black types, who agreed to speak to me, had worked for a prominent defense contractor. She told me about sitting in a meeting with Air Force officers in which they discussed crashed UFOs. The people who came to see her after she spoke to me told her she was still subject to her NDA, adding that they knew where her daughter lived, or that they knew her daughter lived in LA. That both she and her daughter would drive to see each other on occasion. And then the 2 men in suits ended with this: "It's a big desert out there. It would be a shame if anything happened to either of you. She was terrified. The idea that someone would issue veiled threats to this family was jarring to me and outrageous. Also outrageous was the realization that someone had been listening to the phone in my office. It seemed unlikely a judge would approve wiretaps of a news organization. Any thoughts on that?
What, on the wiretaps?
Yeah, I got some thoughts then. There's I don't know. I appreciate that this line of element is being added to it, but it's just kind of interesting. Not to make it like me and Tuba and Mike are the biggest victims ever, but I don't know. I feel like there's some like correlations to be made of stuff happening today, right? Like it's not just trolls online, right? Like in my CIFA stream, like people like Allie Clark and Amy Eskridge and Anjali are having like straight up street theater type events happen to them. Remember Anjali said someone from that weird Facebook group thing went to her daughter's work just to get info about her. Like that's like, you know what I mean? So I don't know. What do you think? Is that
it's really
too out of bounds or what?
No, it's really intense. This stuff is happening a lot, but not just to like whistleblowers. You know what I mean? Like there's a fair amount of intimidation and, like you said, street theater and tactics being deployed against regular people. Seemingly
well, and even in this one too, right? A lot of these seem like just kind of regular people too. So it is interesting that he brings it up. But I'm, and actually, I think I scanned it. I don't think he mentions Elizondo in this or Stratton. But yeah, I guess I'll continue here.
Well, real quick,
yeah.
the wiretapping thing that I think is interesting, though, is if you go back into the statement, he starts talking about how John Lear was talking about the F-117, the Nighthawk, before that was really out and about. I mean, if they knew that he had some information on that was talking to people, he could have been tapped, and then they could have tapped George because George was talking to Lear, and they were talking about something that was not out and about. So it doesn't really surprise me that he got tapped. I don't know if it has to be from Lazar to have that tap happen. You know what I'm saying? If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, and that's the other thing too, why I don't really believe their story, because like Lazar was friends with Lear and who's the other guy, Gene Huff, for like years at that point, and like they were both known within the UFO community at that time, as small as it was, as dispersed as it was, in kind of like a pre-internet era. But they were both like on the radio and frequently writing articles in like the major, like not like the biggest thing in America, but for the UFO topic, they were always in articles and stuff. So the idea that like the government that's all about keeping this stuff secret would bring in someone who's like best friends with two people who make a living off producing, you know what I mean, UFO stuff is just kind of odd, right? Like why would they do that unless they wanted it to get out?
Good point. Real quick, there's some breaking news. Luna was on News Nation tonight, just told Cuomo more details regarding the incident in Grusch's incident before the skiff or after the skiff or whatever. And the clip I sent you, the clip, but there's a quote in here. It says, and I sent it to the group chat or whatever. It says, in my opinion, if you are going to brandish any weapons at congressional staffers, it's very alarming. So it sounds like someone brandished a weapon at Grusch. What the hell?
Let's cut to that real quick because I have that. That's what I have a bunch of stuff for that at the end here, but if that's breaking news, let's go.
We have some good testimony from witnesses. Not to mention, again, you should ask Grusch about the weird incident that happened prior to him going into the skiff with me and Representative Burleson. Something happened as he was driving in to do a VTC with us. So it's very interesting kind of handling this topic. Obviously, you know, anytime someone says, no, don't look there, you know me, Cuomo, I always tend to look and see what we can find. And what I can tell you is, you know, there are many people from all across the DOD, across the entire U.S. government. Over 30 people, to include our own Secretary of State, have come forward and said, you know, there's something here. And so I think to question it, to look at the evidence, and then decide for yourself what you have to see on the matter.
Joe Khalil, News Nation, got us the reporting. You can't just throw the Grusch thing out there like that and not tell me what do you know about it? And why do I have to ask him? Do you know what it is?
Because I don't want to take that away from him, and law enforcement is involved. But in my opinion, if you are going to brandish any weapons at congressional staffers, it's very alarming, and I will leave it at that. But what I can tell you is it was very interesting in timing, and based on what we've heard previously with some of these witnesses, to include some witness testimony that you'll hear tomorrow, this is not the first documented case of this, which is incredibly important as to how do we address this in the future. First of all, whistleblower protections need to be a lot stronger. We also have different different UAP legislation, where these members of Congress are coming together. And I do think that also, you know, there's a lot going on the Hill. As you know, Cuomo, there's a lot of partisan stuff, but this is one of the few bipartisan things that we've been collectively able to work on together.
So
Damn.
is Grusch the congressional staffer that she's referencing here in this?
I think so.
Right?
I think
Yeah,
so,
that's
yeah.
what I'm taking.
Because he's Burleson's staffer officially.
Right.
Whistleblower
Hang
protections.
around.
They're going to give him a bulletproof vest. That's what she's talking about at this point. Come on. I mean, geez.
I'll move the thing around so Dylan
Who would
Borland's
do that?
last, because the other one is all related to that. I think this surprise witness, I think, is related to all this weirdo shit we talk about. But I guess
Really?
we'll just power through the this Knapp one on page 2.
I think I know where you're going with that too, Red. I think I do.
I mean, does it not make sense? I mean, we'll get there right now, but okay. So we got the Men in Black, we got the harassment. That's interesting, right? Okay. The first person I told outside of our newsroom about the story we were pursuing was Nevada Senator Harry Reid, who would later become Senate Majority Leader. I worried he might think I was crazy, but instead he said he was interested. It was the start of a private collaboration and conversation that continued for the rest of his life. Senator Reid was immensely helpful to me over the years, but didn't really want to be too public about his interest. That private conversation proved to be immensely important years later. Suffice to say, by the time he co-sponsored the creation of the largest UFO investigation of UFO matters, Senator Reid firmly believed that the US, Russia, and China had recovered advanced, unknown technology and were in a race to reverse engineer the technology. The first one to do so would control everything. So that's pretty nice, right? I'll get some Senator Reid kudos, I guess. Oh, shoot. And Dorothy gave us a lovely super chat. Yes, the trolls have hit regular people like me. Exactly. And that's why we talk about it. And that's why it's like, I personally think it's kind of shady to be making, not shady, everyone does their own thing, but like if you're making stuff in this field and inviting them into this arena and then like you're not kind of like prepping your audience that like there's weirdness here, it's kind of predatory. Okay, so Senator Reid gets his kudos. Okay, here's an interesting part too. Here's another name who also believed it, Howard Cannon. Senator Cannon, a predecessor to Reid, was a bomber pilot and a hero, a staunch defender of defense spending, Nellis and Area 51, and who had a personal relationship with the top guys at Lockheed. Cannon had never spoken publicly about UFOs, but his son Alan confided in me that his father had told him the story about Roswell and crash debris was true. Okay, so his senator, okay. And I looked up stuff about this dude. I couldn't really find much about him. I knew Senator Cannon during his years in office and wrangled a face-to-face with him. He told me that his best friend, Republican Senator Barry Goldwater, had spoken to Cannon several times about what was being hidden at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Goldwater suspected it was a UFO crash material, so he asked for permission to get in to see it. And even though he was a ranking member of the Armed Services and Intelligence Committees, the response wasn't merely no, but hell no, and never asked again. Yeah, the Doty hit him with the Doty.
That's the Curtis LeMay response that he got hit. Curtis LeMay was the one he asked. Remember to see the Blue Room?
Yep.
Interesting.
He said he never seen him that angry before, too. Yeah.
I thought I had it. Damn it. I guess I don't. Where was it? Where the hell was that? Let me look for it 1 second if it's here.
While you're looking for that, Lear did a no but hell no too back in the day when he was, somebody told him that he was trying to get another job back commercially, and they said, do you want to hire John Lear? He said not only no but hell no.
Damn.
That's funny.
Dude, it's a classic, bro. It really is in the UFOs.
And then it's always like some bullshit. Actually no, we'll just read it. We got a lot of shit to go through. We all know the clip. Okay. And I'll pull it up while one of the other clips is playing. Barry Goldwater, yeah, okay. I corresponded with Senator Goldwater in the early 90s, and he confirmed the story to me. When I asked Cannon on camera about it, he said yes, that's what happened. Admitted he was also curious, then hinted that if he, Cannon, had asked, he thought he could get the okay. But then he said, what would be the point? You couldn't tell anyone about it. Okay, interesting. So some history there. I think that's maybe to appeal to Congress, right? Like, there's a long history of you guys being like iced out of this. Maybe I could see that being kind of the vibe there. Okay. Next we got next name, Al O'Donnell. I have told this story in public before, but I have not confirmed the name. I kept working the story and and looked for people who were in a position to know if this story was legitimate. Someone suggested I try to get Al O'Donnell to open up. Mr. O'Donnell is considered one of the 100 most important people in the development of modern Las Vegas. He had been at MIT when the three founders of EG&G engineered their amazing technology and became vital to the U.S. nuclear weapons program. O'Donnell was sent to Las Vegas to be the first general manager of the EG&G operation there. It meant he had the highest clearances for the most important national security program in the world. He accumulated years of direct, hands-on experience with atomic weapons, hundreds of which were exploded in the Nevada desert and elsewhere. He is the real deal. And I do have something for that. So let's go back to here. And then it should be next.
So after we're having these meetings and I go back and write down all these notes and stuff, details about what he had shared with me, we have another meeting at a coffee shop. And I said, well, gosh, aren't you worried that it would get out, that the word would get out? And he says to me, we were worried it would get out. That's right. I mean, what do you mean it? It, meaning a live being. They had a live being out there. I go, what? You had a live being, an alien? So, well, tell you the truth, we didn't know what it was. I said, maybe it came from millions of miles away out in space and you're keeping it in a cage near Area 51. He said, to tell you the truth, we couldn't communicate with it in the beginning. We didn't know what it was. We didn't know where it was from. And we didn't know what to do with it.
Okay, so this guy is kind of opening up to you, and as a journalist at this point in your career and digging into Bob Lazar's story and hearing this is the first time we start talking about an operator of these vehicles. So how did you feel when it's a guy telling you a story? How did that make you feel? This is no longer just about craft and propulsion, which is all that Bob was involved with, but he saw documents that they showed him. Bob doesn't know if they're real or not real. He says, I didn't see that. I saw the propulsion system, but he read a bunch of shit. When O'Donnell says to you, Al O'Donnell, when he says to you, we had a live alien, a being, obviously from another world, what was your feeling?
Well, I was overwhelmed because it was, in effect, confirmation of things that I had come to believe because of the reporting we'd already done. And then the evidence of cover-ups and lies that have been told to the public. Here's this guy in a high position with a high security clearance telling me that it was true, that they really did have a craft and they had a being. My second feeling was one of overwhelming sadness for the being, whatever it was, that was kept out there. I asked him, what had happened to it? What became of it? He says, I don't know. I don't know what ever happened to it, but it was out there for a while, alive. And eventually they figured out a way to communicate with it. And so I asked him, well, what did it look like? And he made me guess, as he did with all these questions. He made me guess. He said, well, kind of looks like a certain political candidate. I said, well, who? What? A political candidate? Who? And at the time, Ross Perot was running for president. He said, it looks like Ross Perot, a little skinny guy with big ears and a tiny head. Not a classic gray-looking alien, but a very odd-looking creature with really big ears that looked like Ross Perot. And I laughed. And so we had these conversations for a while, and I was blown away by the information they shared. I took all these notes. I was hoping that someday I might be able to get the information out. And I asked him, look, you're getting up there in age. Can you, if I can't record something with you, could you record a statement to the effect of tell me this story on camera, and then when you pass on, I could have the tape? And he said, yeah, he would do it.
Look, I've heard a lot of wild stories that I can't verify.
Just FYI.
A guy's telling you something, and you get a sense as a journalist when you go down a road with somebody and you take your time and you vet it. Did you feel, is there any world where he's trying to fuck with you, or is there a world where he's trying to dissuade, kind of put crazy information into your brain? Like, how did you feel when he was telling you this? Was he like straight with you? Like, explain that to me.
Yeah, he was very straightforward. And again, this was not information he was giving up willingly. I had to really dig and coax and arm twist to get him to cough things up. And it was very slow going over about a 2-year period, maybe a little bit longer. And I know that you always have to be wary of people with different agendas and people that just make stuff up. I didn't get that sense from him because of his standing in the community. He had shared this story with members of his own family.
And that's why they came to you, is because they kind of give you a tip. And these members of his family, they're serious people too.
It's like Jeremy's
So
Roth Perot. It's pretty funny. Okay, I'm going to go back and continue reading this a little bit because it does get interesting. I don't know if I don't think how much you guys have looked into this or not, but it gets interesting.
I wonder if he's referring to J-Rod and that 1953 alien.
I hope not. Oh dear Lord.
I think that's
no.
I don't know. I'm just saying.
It took me a while, but he agreed to open up about that subject. He would meet in coffee shops and he would answer my questions, but I wasn't allowed to take notes. I would always rush to my car afterward and scribble down shorthand versions of what he shared with me. Over several months, he told me that he was directly involved in securing what amounted to a flying saucer that had been crashed, most likely in 1953. That's Kingman, right? I think so.
Yeah, that would be Kingman, correct.
He said it wasn't kept at Area 51. It was hidden at Indian Springs Air Base outside of Las Vegas, now known as Creech Air Force Base. Eventually, he also said there was a live being housed out there, a crash survivor, but they did not know how to communicate with their captive. Its existence was known only by a handful of people. He said sometime after 1955, when Area 51 was created, the craft and the being were moved from Indian Springs to somewhere near Groom Lake, but he was never specific. Now that's some pretty if that's real, right? Like that's pretty like, have anything said in front of Congress, right? Like location, body, any thoughts there?
No. This is just, it's very interesting. But like, as an opening statement, it's so wild.
I think this is historical. I think it is wild, but
are you happy crying reading this all right now? I feel
yes, I love.
Good. I'm glad you're here because I'm kind of like, I'm cautious. I'm feeling cautious. You cut out there, Mike, too. Yeah.
I don't know. I believe the entity that he's referring to is J-Rod. I think that's part of the Dan Burr story, dude. I think that was the deal, is that he was supposedly from that Kingman crash. But I could be wrong. I haven't heard the Dan Burr story in forever.
Yeah, sorry about that. Dan Bursch, I don't think they're talking about the Dan Bursch story. I think this is something a little bit different. But yeah, I'm over head over heels over this.
I'm play just a little bit of this.
Kingman, Boston, comes an eyewitness account which could explain this continued military fascination with flying saucers. Ray Fowler, one of the most respected civilian UFO investigators, is also author of 2 bestsellers in the field. Because of his stint in the Air Force Security Service, he finds himself still vulnerable to government pressure.
I work for a company that designed and built a major weapons system. And because of connections within the company, because of connections with Dr. Jalen Hynek, who was an Air Force investigator for many years, I came across information that indicated that this major weapon system, as well as others, had been disrupted by UFOs. And I gave a story to a national newspaper, the Christian Science Monitor, which published this story. Within an hour after this particular paper was out, the Strategic Air Command had called my company. And the following day, the Pentagon called the company and threatened to send a letter of displeasure to the company if something wasn't done about my making these things public.
Because of similar pressures in his own work, a friend of Ray's had kept quiet for 27 years with an amazing story. Ray tried to convince the friend to tell his story on In Search Of.
I know it's been several days now, and I've been waiting for you to call me on this, but have you come to any conclusions?
The man finally agreed, for the first time, to talk, but only under strict conditions.
I can assure you that your name will not be used.
They made up a name, Fritz, to protect the witness's true identity.
And I think the best place to do it probably would be in my planetarium, away from the kids and the telephone and things like that.
Waiting for his friend to arrive, Ray nervously fiddled with his telescopes. He remembered his extensive investigations.
I'm sorry, but it said Kingman on the thing. We're just going to continue along here. I'm so sorry about that. Sometime later, at our final coffee meeting, he told me, so remind you, we're back on this, who is this? Al O'Donnell, right? Yeah, so this is all Al O'Donnell. He's got 3 paragraphs. Sometimes later at our final coffee meeting, he told me he had been warned to stop talking to me. He told me he could not meet with me anymore. A few years later, a new version of his story emerged, one different in every aspect. Okay, so this is actually interesting. Do you know what he's talking about here? And we did this, we clipped this out on Skyfire News, which is pretty funny when I was going to look for this.
In your book on Area 51, you propose an explanation that I think some people have criticized at the very end, that this might have been a disinformation campaign from, I guess, Stalin, that the Roswell incident was a remotely piloted plane with a, quote, grotesque child-sized aviator. Just looking back at all that now, years later,
so yeah, and you guys kind of set this up in case people are like totally out of the loop. This is Annie Jacobsen, right? And she floated out this idea that Roswell was basically what they just said, like Soviet technology with like deformed kids, right? But it's going to link up with, spoiler alert, she's going to say here that her source is the same one as George Knapp's, who told George Knapp that it's the alien guy.
Probability that it's true. What's the probability it's not?
So, you know, I've never revealed who that source is.
Yes.
Did you know that?
I know.
Want me to tell you?
What the source?
Yeah.
Okay. Who's the source?
So before I say anything on that, let me speak to the question that you asked, right? So you asked me, what's the probability that that is still standing as an idea 12, 13, 14 years later, right? So I continued to work with that source for years afterwards. We talked about this. Look, I mean, his whole family knew it was him. And I knew his family because I was an integral part of, you know, I was at his house, met all his kids, grandkids. And
we should say the source is the main expert advisor behind the story. That it was, maybe you can explain what the story is that you report in the book, that it was a disinformation campaign created by Stalin to cause mass hysteria in the United States.
Yes.
The very kind that we've been speaking about with the CIA and so on.
Yes, predicated on the narrative of the War of the Worlds, right? And the War of the Worlds, when it was a radio program in the United States, made people go crazy. Oh my God, we're being invaded by aliens. Well, the government was always interested in this story, and Joseph Stalin was too. We know that from declassified documents, right? And so the source told me that the reason for this program and that the real Roswell crash remains were, in fact, it was a black propaganda hoax infiltrated, you know, or rather predicated at this idea that you were going to overwhelm America's early warning air defense system, cause mayhem, and maybe be able to attack the United States. That was the plan. And Stalin was also messing with the United States, messing with Truman, who sort of, you know, turned his back on him, right, at Potsdam. And so this idea was, and the reason that the source is important, and unlike, you know, a lot of people, I saw this, I saw that, I learned that, was according to the source, once it was determined that this was a hoax and that Stalin was able to get a craft over the United States and it crashed, and it had, you know, people inside of it. They were people that were sort of deformed and meant surgically altered to look like aliens. The United States government decided that it needed to know what on earth that was all about, and if it was possible for us to have the same program. This according to the source, right? And so it sounds preposterous. And if it was just someone saying, you might say, well, it's ridiculous, tell me, and get them onto another subject. But the difference is this source, who is very well placed and friends with all of the other 75 people, you know, told me this as a confession, right? A real tearful confession, because what he said is he was involved in the American program to do the same thing. And people died because there were human experiments that went on. And I write about this in the last 12 pages of Area 51. It was an explosive, you know, revelation. And I felt very confident in writing this because the source wanted it written. Why? Because he said, I'm dedicated to my country. I know about being committed to national security. And this kind of thing must never happen. And if you give people too much power, they will take advantage of it. And he wanted it on the record. And his wife of 60 years did not know until after the book published. nor did his children. Okay. So after the book published, I was called to his house and sat there with his family. And they said, tell us this isn't true. And he said, it is true, right? Now that source is Al O'Donnell, who is the nuclear weapons engineer who armed, wired, and fired 186 nuclear weapons.
Yeah, so that's she
Okay.
revealed that after what I think she said 7 to 14 years. We'll just power through along here real quick because I think Delonge did the same thing, and then I got a clip of Knapp responding to her. Because again, why does this all matter? Knapp spent 3 paragraphs on this dude saying that this dude told him that the aliens are real, they're housed here, they're housed there. So it's just, and he's about to mention her too in the actual congressional thing. But we'll just look
Can
at
I,
this one shorter.
before
Yeah,
we
go
go
for it,
on to
please.
this next thing,
Yes.
I just wanted to say there's a great alternative explanation too with the Roswell thing, where instead of saying it came from the Russians, that it was actually a Project Paperclip operation that went wrong. And it still had the same thing though, like surgically altered children and everything, and they covered it up. And then now they're blaming it on the Soviets instead of saying it was ours. So just another alternative.
Interesting.
It gets darker. It gets dark.
And honestly, that Ross Perot guy looks kind of weird. But let's see.
What I believe crashed at Roswell was, I believe it was German from Argentina, but it had hallmarks and technology based on alien technology. So we put out a story saying it's alien, and then we put out a story saying it's a weather balloon. But the real thing it was, we didn't want anyone to guess, and that's why we put those two things out there. And that's kind of how they do it. I think they did that with the moon. It's like, you know, we went to the moon, and then they put out this meme kind of thing like we didn't go to the moon, but they didn't want people really going, well, what's on the moon? That, you know, so these things are managed.
When O'Donnell says to you, Al O'Donnell, when he says to you, we had a live alien, a being, obviously from another world, what was your feeling?
Well, I was overwhelmed because it was, in effect, confirmation of things that I had come to believe because of the reporting we'd already done. And then the evidence of cover-ups and lies that have been told to the public. Here's this guy in a high position with a high security clearance telling me that it was true, that they really did have a craft and they had a being. My second feeling was one of overwhelming sadness for the being, whatever it was, you know, that was kept out there. I asked him, you know, what had happened to it, what became of it. He says, I don't know what ever happened to it, but he was out there for a while, alive, and eventually they figured out a way to communicate with it. And so I asked him, well, what did it look like? And he made me guess, as he did with all these questions. He made me guess. He said, well, kind of looks like a certain...
Yeah, I'm sorry, I fucked this presentation up a little bit, but we'll get back to the thing. An anonymous source who sounded to me like a carbon copy of Al O'Donnell told a book author the Roswell saucer was a Russian-made craft that was crashed on purpose in a remote, barely populated desert in New Mexico. So he's talking about Annie Jacobsen right here in the official congressional testimony tomorrow that's going to be read. The Russians allegedly wanted to start an alien invasion, public panic, but picked an odd place to do it. The alien-looking bodies were said to be concentration camp survivors who had been surgically altered by the infamous Nazi Dr. Joseph Mengele to look like beings from outer space. That was the other thing too, like, it was hard for me, the logistics of how they would be able to pull that off, especially so close after World War II when they were like rebuilding everything.
And, like,
So I
what's the
found that-
motivation to do it? Like, that's so much commitment for an effect that they're not even sure it's going to have. I don't know.
Well, I think that's why the paperclip aspect makes a little more sense, that it was us and our German crazy scientists locally doing experiments.
Yeah. So then it says, George says, take your pick. Al had a reason for changing the story. Someone told him to do it. So that's his kind of way he's making peace with both. But I guess, I mean, do you guys believe Annie Jacobsen, or would she make something up like that like he told her this around like his entire family as he
No,
died?
I think she's telling the truth. I think I think Al O'Donnell said this. Yeah.
All right. Well, interesting. A more current source regarding unknown technology is Dr. James Lacatski. Dr. Lacatski is a brilliant man who spent the bulk of his career working for the Defense Intelligence Agency. He and a DAA man who spent he and a colleague came up with the idea for the Advanced Aerospace Weapons Systems Application Program, OSAP, is the acronym for the program mentioned earlier in this presentation. It is the largest UFO investigation ever funded by the U.S. government that we know of. Senator Harry Reid and 2 other senior senators secured the funding for the program. It was highly compartmentalized, even by the standards of the DIA. Dr. Lacatski is a by-the-book guy. He does not spill secrets unless the information is approved through the DOPSR process, and so long as it does not endanger national security. As a matter of disclosure, I am a co-author of 2 books written primarily by Dr. Lacatski and Colm Kelleher, the principal manager of OSAP in Las Vegas. Kelleher worked for Robert Bigelow, a successful developer and aerospace contractor in Nevada. His company, Bass, was awarded the DIA contract for OSAP in an amazingly short turnaround. Bass managed to recruit and hire 50 full-time investigators for Bass, most of them former military or law enforcement, and all of whom were able to qualify for top-secret security clearance. As I mentioned in a statement submitted to Congress during the 2023 hearing into this subject, Bass OSAP generated an enormous amount of research and content in its 27-month existence. In addition to more than 3 dozen preliminary reports, DIRDs, the program compiled the largest known UFO database, or rather data warehouse, consisting of more than 240,000 case files obtained from multiple other collections, including files from other governments. The data warehouse was designed and overseen by Dr. Jacques Vallée and has reportedly been used by U.S. agencies up to the present date. Well, that's cool. Mention Vallée. I feel like he's trying to, hit a quota with it. Give Vallée his respects or whatever. That's cool. Bass OSAP also produced more than 100 highly detailed papers focusing on different issues and questions, including studies of the health effects and on humans from encounters with UFO UAP technology. None of these 100+ reports have been released by the DIA, though a few have been leaked. In 2023, the usually tight-lipped Dr. Lacatski dropped a bombshell. He revealed that he had been in high-level talks with the Department of Homeland Security to create a new program dubbed Kona Blue. During the discussions with a U.S. Senator and Undersecretary of DHS, Lacatski revealed that the U.S. is in possession of a craft of unknown origin and had successfully gained access to its interior. The craft has a streamlined configuration suitable for aerodynamic flight, but no intakes, exhaust, wings, or control surfaces. In fact, it appeared not to have an engine, fuel tanks, or fuel. What was the purpose of this craft? Mike, could you speak on this, or I feel like you guys know about what's the whole deal about this craft? And I think I have the clip of him when he's on Weaponized. Maybe I'll play that first and then.
I mean, I couldn't speak to a specific crash that this would be related to, but it could be Kingman. It sounds to me like they got inside of it and they needed something to get inside of it.
Oh, I think the weird thing is as you're reading that, you're sitting there asking yourself, at least I am, why is George Knapp talking for Lacatski? This is why they need to subpoena him and have him come talk. I mean, we shouldn't even be having to ask, what craft could it be? He should be there talking about it. I guess at least we're getting something. Maybe this will push them to want to talk to him more or get him in there. But it just seems so weird to be reading George Knapp testifying for James Lacatski. It's strange.
Yeah, let's play this on.
Beginning of chapter 9. At the conclusion of a 2011 meeting in the Capitol building with a U.S. Senator and an agency undersecretary, Lacatski, the only one of the book's authors present, posed a question. But this is where it gets good. He stated, meaning you, Dr. Lacatski, that the United States was in possession of a craft of unknown origin and had successfully gained access to its interior. This craft had a streamlined configuration suitable for aerodynamic flight, but no intakes, exhaust, wings, or control surfaces. In fact, it appeared not to have an engine, fuel tanks, or fuel. Now, there's a next part, which I'll read in a minute, but what this is you're officially allowed to tell us that the United States government has in its possession a craft of unknown origin, and you were able to access the inside. Is that correct?
The wording that you read is correct. You're going beyond the wording.
No, I'm not. I'm asking you, did that meeting happen? And is it true? And it's true.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so you're telling us, you told us, because you were allowed to tell us, that our government has a UFO in its possession and has been able to access the inside of it, right?
Yes.
Well, that's okay.
I was allowed to tell you. Let me show the back of the book. This is.
I know. But hold up, George. Will you translate, George?
All right, let's try another tack. How do we know it's a craft and not a doorstop? We accessed it. It has no engine. It has no wings. No fuel. It doesn't. We don't know that it travels. Do we know it's a craft or it's just a rock?
George, you're going into the further discussion that occurred that day.
All right.
We can't go there. But let me tell you, we're going to try to cover that in the future. But it's delicate. It makes the technology described in here look primitive.
Why is it delicate? Why is this topic that the United States government has a UFO in its possession and we've been reverse engineering it? You've admitted it. Why is it delicate?
The details. I'm old school. I won't use the term adversary, competitor as the way we describe. We are surrounded, maybe not surrounded, but hopefully not so, by our enemies. And our enemies, you can be sure they're listening to this show right now. You can be sure that they were monitoring OSAP.
Uh-oh.
You can be sure that perhaps they had employees, hopefully not in GIA, but in the contractor part, that were giving out information. I know that. So the thing is we can't say anything more than what we've been approved to say.
Yeah, anyone have any thoughts on that? I'm gonna speed through the rest of this one because I'm kind of overreading George Knapp's thing. Okay, we'll just continue along here then.
Well, I mean, if you could at least get him to say that in front of Congress, right, on record, would be pretty big. I mean, he's willing to say it on a podcast, so just to get him there for that even would be.
I mean, is he? Oh yeah, he's a motherfucker. He was like, I wouldn't do it, right, if he was asked or something.
Yeah, I think later it might have been this one, but it could have been a different interview. He says he wouldn't. I can't remember which one.
Cool. So yeah, what I found interesting about this is so far we've had named John Lear, who else? Jacques Vallée, Lacatski, Colm Kelleher. No mention of Lou Elizondo in this entire thing or Jay Stratton. Does anyone find that odd? I found that a little odd. Because they're about to end. Well, no, I mean, actually, I'm pretty sure. Maybe there is. Maybe I should just read it. Well, because then they get into this whole thing. I kind of want to just summarize it.
I don't recall Stratton or Elizondo anywhere in it because he jumps to the Russia stuff.
Well, he talks about Grusch, so there's that.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, you're right.
Let's do Control F, Elizondo, boom, 0, Stratton, 0. Let's just double check that Grusch works. Oh, yep, that works. See, so kind of interesting, right? What's that mean? Really weird. So then they go into this. I'm just going to summarize this part. This part's basically all about the. Oh wait, where are we at? This weird Lockheed transfer that we heard people talk about all the time. That Bigelow Aerospace tried to get a crashed UFO. But I'm wondering, like, where's the UFO that Lacatski allegedly saw? That's just one of my questions. I feel like it's still kind of vague. Yeah. Oh, well, this is actually kind of interesting. Okay, I will read this part. This is no longer a rumor. So he's setting up the whole like Bigelow Lockheed story. This is no longer a rumor. I have confirmed that Bigelow and trusted colleagues met with and negotiated with a senior executive at Lockheed and hammered out a deal wherein Bigelow's company, Bass, would receive a quantity of unusual material that Lockheed was safeguarding at a facility in California. A source who was in the room for the discussion has confirmed this. The material was not made here. It contained no unknown element, no unobtainium, but its composition suggested it had been crafted in a zero-gravity environment. In other words, space. As far as anyone knows, we do not have any manufacturing plants in space, nor does anyone else. The agreement was not completed. There are two reasons for that. People can believe it or not, there is a crash recovery program, and reverse engineering has been underway for a long time with limited success. A veteran intelligence operative, David Grusch, who documented the existence of such programs while working with the UAP task force, testified to Congress back in 2023 about this. The testimony was under oath. Mr. Grusch now works for Representative Burleson as an advisor on these matters. All right, so that's kind of all that. We're done with that area. No Stratton, no Elizondo. I think that's odd. And then the last part's about all this Russia thing, and I kind of want to just play that little Russia clip I have instead of reading this. What do you guys think? I don't think there's really. I think we could get away with that for this.
Real quick. Why do you think he doesn't mention Glenn Gaffney when he talks about that? Because that's supposed to be the story, right? The Gaffney blocked that transfer.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of weird stuff about that story because it was that story when it came out, or like the one right before it that set up the naming of Glenn Gaffney, where Matt Ford had his like weird hotel street theater thing conducted on him by Lou Elizondo that I've covered on various streams here. It was about the release of that story of the Office of Global Access having all that shit. So yeah, I don't know, weird. And also, if you remember too, last hearing, Lou had Matt Ford submit something that named Glenn Gaffney as like the dude here. They all hate him for some reason.
You think George is just not on that train with it? Is kind of where you're going with that?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why. Maybe just he didn't want to have had too many names. Because it's easy to kind of get lost in the sauce here. And I mean, I'm already kind of like burnt out reading this shit, and I love this topic. Imagine the Congress people.
It'd be terrible to name names at the pinnacle of the investigation point, right? They need all the names, Red. That's what we're here at Congress for.
Remember, he did say too. He did say too. He's gonna submit like a whole ass appendix, right after the.
Oh,
fact.
You're right. I take it back. You're right. I forgot.
Yeah, you better put some respect on it.
And I'll read a little bit.
Well, do you want to read the Russian files part, or because I feel like we
can sure.
Okay, you go for it then.
All right. Yeah. So topic 3, the Russia files. As one of the planet's other nuclear superpowers, do the Russians also have a program to study UFOs and crashes and materials? The answer is yes. The task force now has copies of documents I obtained from the Russian Ministry of Defense and from affiliated organizations back in the 90s. Some of this material has been reported to the public over the years, but only a few pages of the original documents have been shared. I was asked to share the most important papers with Bass and the DIA and did so because I wanted someone way smarter than me to figure out whether they're legit and what they mean. OSAP did that. All right, so he's got Bass and DIA looking at these papers he's like smuggled. And someone asked, is he in trouble too for this at all?
I like how he put Bass and DIA together there. I think that kind of keeps him out of it because he's kind of saying the time frame was when it was still under kind of that guidance. So I think that's what's going to keep him away from it. However, he's known Bigelow for a long time, dude. So I don't know if Bigelow ever seen that stuff prior, but the way he words it's pretty slick.
Right.
Real quick before you continue, just to break up all the reading on it, I'll play the clip and then we could finish out the Russia part.
March 1991, radar at the Leningrad airport detects first 1, then 2, then 3 unidentified objects hovering over a nuclear plant. From a dead stop, the UFO zipped away at 2,000 miles per hour. The Urals, 1976, a photographer clicks this shot and later provides a more detailed drawing. May 1992, a military team in the Kola Peninsula tapes this spinning object. In Tbilisi, a crew shooting a music video spots this overhead. Today, average Russians are free to discuss UFOs, but it wasn't always so. Through the 50s and 60s, the Kremlin declared UFOs a capitalist creation, thus a non-topic. But behind the scenes, Stalin and other leaders authorized secret UFO studies. Retired Colonel Boris Sokolov commanded such a study for 10 years. The entire Russian military took part. Thousands of reports were generated, but were kept secret until 1993, when Sokolov first spoke to us. The study included 40 incidents of Russian warplanes encountering UFOs. One MiG had its wing damaged in a collision with a UFO. This former pilot says a UFO disabled his plane with a beam of light. In 1982, a UFO hovered over a nuclear missile base in the Ukraine for hours. Unexplainably, codes were entered and the missiles were ready for launch until the UFO vanished. General Igor Maltsev, for 7 years commander of the entire Soviet air defense system, recalls a UFO flap over Moscow in 1990. Hundreds of visual and radar observations by military personnel.
Maltsev confirms his standing order was don't fire on the UFOs, but he declines to say much else. His boss, the former deputy defense minister, declined to speak altogether under orders. And even Sokolov is now reluctant to talk, in part because he was attacked in communist newspapers following our 1993 interview. There's more than one kind of chill in the Moscow air these days.
With the double political whammy of the revived communists and the scary nationalists, the Russian government needs a UFO expose like it needs a red, white, and blue paint job on the Kremlin.
Science has received the message. Individuals and the Russian Academy are now downplaying their long-term studies of UFOs. Oddly, the KGB has opened up, including a release of this long secret film of a UFO. KGB adds it has no ongoing interest in flying saucers, although it does have several hundred files.
Huh. So there we go. You're good to close us out on this, Mike? Or
Yeah, sure.
Cool.
I'll keep going. And that film was like better than some of the other film we actually see. Sorry, give me 1 second here while I find my spot again. The documents and interviews I obtained in my 1993 visit to Moscow showed that the USSR launched what is also almost certainly the largest UFO investigation in world history. The first phase included a standing order to every element of the vast Soviet military empire to fully investigate every UFO sighting, whether it was a craft, orb, unusual ball of light, or other kinds of close encounters. The military witnesses were to be interviewed, evidence including photos, drawings, and physical effects were to be gathered, and all the materials was to be forwarded to a single office in the Ministry of Defense. The program lasted a full 10 years, 1978 to 1988, and possibly longer, and then another program grew out of that dubbed Thread 3, which seemed to be an analysis program that also monitored UFO cases, news reports, and government interests in the U.S. and other Western nations. The purpose of these efforts was very simple, as told to me by Colonel Boris Sokolov, who was head of the MOD program. He said that many thousands of reports were collected during the part of the program for the purpose of figuring out technology that UFOs displayed, unpredictable movements, the maneuverability and quick angles, and because UFOs could be seen visually but not on radar, or seen on radar but not visually. Quote, if the secrets of the UFOs could be discovered, we would be able to win the competition against our potential enemies in terms of velocity, materials, and visibility. The fighter planes could intercept, but in these cases where Russian planes fired. In other words, the Russians were trying to reverse engineer UFOs. That was underway decades ago. Sokolov and his files documented highly alarming encounters similar to what our own military has encountered. He told me on camera that there had been 40 incidents in which Russian fighter planes were sent to intercept unknown craft. In most of these cases, the UFOs zipped away before the pilots could shoot at the unknowns, but in 3 cases where the MiGs did fire, the planes fell out of the sky. 2 of those pilots died. After that, the standing order changed. When you see a UFO, change course and get out. I was able to get a follow-up to this policy when I returned to Moscow in 1996 and interviewed General Igor Maltsev, who had issued the standing order. He explained that the pilots were told to leave the UFOs alone because, quote, they could have incredible capacities for retaliation. The Ministry of Defense folks shared with me photos of Russian MiGs that tried to intercept UFOs but had their wings clipped in mid-air collisions. In quotations, I have provided the photos to the task force. Oh, so those photos we just saw are going to the task force. That's pretty cool.
It is cool, yeah.
This is how they get around like getting in trouble in America, that they're like hyping up foreign cases. I'm not even as a knock, right? Because it seems like they're kind of worried about like Corbell's always like, oh, you know, I don't know. I feel like that may be why they did this. I don't know though. But also, I'd be worried too that like this was all a setup from the Russians or something. You know what I mean? Kind of silver plattery, is it not? In a really turmoil-rich time, to be getting this
that option's always there. Yeah, you can't take it away. It's always there.
All right.
Where you at? Or do you want me to take over from here? I could finish it
Yeah,
up.
why don't you take over?
Where you at? Where did you just finish? I know reading sucks, dude. What was your last name?
They were underway decades ago. So I think it says Sokolov and his files documented highly alarming encounters.
Oh God. Okay. I'll try and power through real quick. Sokolov and his files documented highly alarming encounters similar to what our own military had encountered. He told me on camera there had been. Oh wait, no, I think you did read this part. I'm gonna
No, he just read that. You're, I think, dozens of cases.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay. There are also dozens of cases. Sokolov says in which ground forces fired upon UFOs, but the on the ground soldiers say UFOs knocked out car engines along with radar, radio, and communication systems. There were also a few incidents in those files in which military personnel were literally frozen, immobilized when they tried to shoot down the UFOs. Tupa, do you see that? Is Tupa here? Tupa might have passed out. Tupa made a nice little video about that.
I just posted it actually. I just posted the video. Hope it gets some traction. We'll see. But yeah, that's good. I knew that's where that thing came from. That story came from him, dude.
For sure. Did you cut out that part of the testimony and put it with the video?
I should. That's gonna be amazing.
Yeah, it looks really good. Yeah,
that's gonna be good tomorrow. Yeah, I wasn't expecting to see that in here. I mean, we're just gonna read it. We're gonna power through it. Luckily, the other two guys are like not this long of things. The Russians have been studying UFOs as far back as Roswell in 1947. Stalin had an interest and had tasked his top scientists to find out what had crashed at Roswell. They eventually told Stalin it wasn't any craft known to exist on Earth, wasn't American, certainly wasn't Russian. For decades afterward, the official position of the USSR was that UFOs were a propaganda distraction manufactured by the West and discouraged any public interest or investigation. Behind the scenes, they tasked scientists and intelligence assets to find out what these things were and whether the Russians could build their own. Basically, the USSR was doing the same thing our own government has done all these years. Tell the public one thing and do the opposite in secrecy. In other words, lie. The most disturbing incident I was able to document after reading the files was speaking to a Russian military leaders who were part of a classified program occurred in October 1982 at a missile base in Ukraine. These missiles were meant to be fired at Western targets, including the U.S. The report had been sent to the chief of the general, their version of the Joint Chiefs. A UFO had appeared over the Ukraine missile base. It was observed for 4 hours. In that time, the UFO split into pieces, merged back together, displayed amazing velocity and other abilities. Oh, interesting. That's some shape-shifting right there. I never knew there was some shape-shifting associated with that. In Sokolov's words, it was a spontaneous illumination of all displays. Something or someone entered the correct launch codes for the missiles. Oh, wow. Yeah, this is that story. Those missiles fired up and appeared ready to be launched. The officers in the controls could not shut them down. They tried their best to disengage, but could not. This was World War III was about ready to start, and there was nothing the Russians could do to stop it. And then poof, the UFOs vanished in an instant, and when they did, the missiles turned themselves off. Colonel Sokolov and his team were sent from Moscow to investigate. They took apart control of the panels. They took apart the control panels, but could not find anything wrong. This was not a power surge or security test using EMP or any of the other weak cover stories that have been used in this country to try and debunk or explain away similar events that have been reported at our own nuclear missile facilities. The ministry.
I love that dig right there. That's so funny.
Oh yeah, right.
That's a dig at the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah, right. Okay, yeah, good one. The Ministry of Defense concluded that this was a message sent by the UFO. By the way, while I have spoken publicly about the Ukraine incident a few times over the years since I returned from Russia, I have never made public the witness statements, all of them Russian military officers. The task force has now been supplied with copies of all those statements. Oh, that's cool. Hopefully this will be online. I think we're almost done here. Yeah. Oh, finally. God, Knapp. Another of the most unsettling findings during the visits to Russia is what we learned from a Russian physicist, Dr. Ramily Avramenko. He showed us a table model of what he called the weapon of the aliens. It was a plasma beam generator, and he demonstrated what that little model could do, burning an instant hole in a razor blade. Damn, I never heard about this story. This is new to me. Avramenko and other military figures told us that Russia is well aware of ongoing secretive programs in the U.S., wherein our agencies monitor and collect UFO information via advanced sensor platforms in an effort to understand and duplicate the technology. In other words, reverse engineering. I met with and interviewed dozens of Russians during my 2 visits in the 90s and believe the overall meaning of their considerable efforts is that they take UFOs seriously, and that all of the research and resources over so many years was carried out for purposes of building and deploying their own versions of the advanced technology they had seen in their skies, on land, and underwater. I'll just add there too, since we're here. I find it interesting. I didn't realize he only went over there 2 times. I feel like it's very susceptible to fuckery. Foreign language, country that's had really weird ties with America at that time. They know that we know what the Russians are doing, and the Russians know what we know they have been doing. The difference is the Russians essentially admitted this back in the 90s, while their American counterparts still pretend none of this is real and tell the same old lies to the public and to Congress. One other note on the Russian files: after I shared much of this material with OSAP and Bass, they put a team together to do translations and analysis, far more than I could do on my own. The full report is included in one of those unreleased papers submitted to DIA and still bottled up there, but we were allowed to publish a brief synopsis, which reveals that there is a much larger program than Thread 3, a shadowy group known as Unit 73790, which controlled 3 separate UFO programs, a much larger effort than anyone has known before. It looks like they were ahead of us as far as 30 years ago. George Knapp. There you go. Is this that one document that's online that's like the Russian account of the Anunnaki and all that stuff? What's it called? Shoot, there's a subreddit for it. I wonder if that's part of that. I don't know. But any thoughts on that? Or we should just continue along here, I feel like. Yeah.
Well, I think that was Knapp. Is he going to read all of that in front of Congress? Like, is that the plan? He's going to be exhausted.
It's so long.
If he has to read all of this, he's going to be so tired.
It really is. I'm like fucking burnt out right now, bro. Not like
I can read the next thing if you want me to. Dude.
No, it's good. It was just like that's a lot of. I mean, you're right. I don't know if Knapp. I mean, I'm sure he can, but yeah, it's a lot. Okay, let's go to the next thing now. So next we got, this is the surprise guest. Let's get activated. Let's see. So this is the surprise guest that he wasn't announced initially. Joe Spielberger, Senior Policy Counsel, Project on Government Oversight. Interesting. I'll just play a little promo from this organization and then we'll read it. And actually, let me look at this too. This one's 5 pages. So this one should go by a little quicker. Okay, let's see.
Washington, D.C.
Tupa, are you there, by the way? Is Tupa here?
Always, brother.
Cool.
The city of secrets, churning out millions of documents each day that the American people never get to see. Sometimes secrets need to be kept, but all too often, people in high places keep secrets to break the law, hide their tracks, or even make themselves rich at public expense.
In a world
where POGO comes in.
We are the Project on Government Oversight.
The most ass-kicking, name-taking bunch of goody-two-shoes, good government types in America.
We investigate corruption and other kinds of misconduct in order to advance a more effective, accountable, open, and ethical federal government.
POGO's view is that whistleblowers, employees, people who have tips of wrongdoing, illegality, are on the front lines of accountability.
There's a paradox about whistleblowers, and that is that they're cultural heroes. We celebrate their incredible courage, and yet we treat them as villains. You know, Dan Ellsberg faced 125 years for espionage.
If POGO had been around when I was first considering telling the truth to Congress and to the public, I certainly would have turned to them for advice. I knew that I needed it, but didn't know where to get it.
And for people who are old enough and
yeah, I won't play the whole thing. Just so this isn't the longest ever, but yeah, this random guy from POGO, Project on Government Oversight. I'll just read a little bit of this. The Project on Government Oversight, POGO, is a nonpartisan, nonprofit government watchdog group based in Washington, D.C. History. The Project on Military Procurement, an arm of the National Taxpayers Legal Fund, was founded by Dinah Razor in February 1981. The project mission was to make the public aware of waste, fraud, and fat in U.S. defense spending, according to Razor. In the organization's early days, Razor worked with whistleblowers to expose design flaws in the M1 Abrams tank, which had undergone a shocking cost increase in 1980, according to Razor. The project first gained widespread attention in the 80s So they're just kind of like a government watchdog group. Cancellation of superconducting super collider they're, I guess, involved with. They helped Area 51 hazardous waste investigations previously. Unpaid oil royalties, federal contractor misconduct database. What's that?
Think about all the people that are injured, right? If we think about people exposed to these black programs, this is definitely the organization that would be interested in that.
Two commented you hate this. Tell us about it.
The POGO ad was the worst. Like the music, like everything about it. I don't feel like I trust POGO at all. I trust it even less now.
I will say, I am kind of like, hopefully, and I actually do think it all kind of relates, and I think it even relates to what some of the stuff that happened today. Why is all of a sudden this third party now there's evidence for? Why is all of a sudden Darcy Weir coming in to try and correct the record on claims we've been making about him for a long time?
Yeah.
Why is it, there's a lot of all of a sudden things happening right now? Let's not forget this. You know what I mean? Where we
Dude, everyone in the POGO ad looked like a Hillary staffer, a former Hillary.
That's the other thing too, and I looked it up, and they might be fucking funded by the Soros Foundation, bro. So it's a fucking lose-lose. I'm not saying for sure or not, but we're post this world, right?
I've reached out to some of the biggest names in UFO lore, okay? They all got skiff flu, and we call it skiff flu, meaning like the day that the skiff was open that we reserved it, we're like, we're here, like, come on, come brief us. They get.
After several visits to D.C. at the request of members of Congress at my own expense, we were given cancellations at the last minute. After coming back home again, I made it clear the last time that I had a pre-existing commitment. I was given 3 days notice and no guarantees while having committed to speaking in Oregon publicly available. Luna knows the truth and we have the emails to prove it. I will chalk this up to her not being informed by her staff and an innocent mistake, I hope. Otherwise, let this be a lesson to future whistleblowers who want congressional protections. This is all about media attention and less about truth.
Okay, so I'm going to read a little bit of it, but just kind of like, I think this was an interesting surprise person to add. I do agree with the chat and with Tuba, and I need to verify if it is really related to. There's some other shit too that some people were saying that this is connected to. That's super sus, and I don't know, but I don't know if not. But I'll just read it. Testimony of Joe Spielberger, Senior Policy Counsel, Project on Government Oversight, before the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform, Task Force on the Declassification of Federal Secrets, on Restoring Public Trust through UAP Transparency. Blah blah blah. Again, this is the guy that was just added. Chairwoman Luna, Ranking Member Crockett, and Task Force members, thank you for the opportunity to testify here today about the importance of strengthening whistleblower protections, especially in the context of national security. I'm a Senior Policy Counsel at the Project on Government Oversight, POGO, a nonpartisan, independent watchdog organization that investigates and exposes waste, corruption, abuse of power, and when the government fails to serve the public or silence those who report wrongdoing. We have decades of experience helping whistleblowers bring disclosures to light and advocating in Congress and executive branch agencies to address their disclosures and shield from their retaliations. The historic importance of whistleblowers. Whistleblowers are a crucial first line of defense against wrongdoing in our government because they are the first to witness or learn about waste, abuse of power, or corruption in federal agencies. Whistleblowers are often the first to raise the alarm. It is understandable that past presidents of both parties have often taken a hostile approach towards whistleblowers. Their disclosures can embarrass the president and their political party, or even lead to a national scandal. But whistleblowers have played a vital role during both Democratic and Republican administrations. We must ensure whistleblowers are treated fairly and have their rights protected, regardless of who they are or what issues they may disclose. Congress depends on whistleblowers coming forward so that it can fully exercise its own oversight and legislative authorities. Indeed, much of Congress is learning about corruption and abuse of power is thanks to whistleblowers who take grave risk in speaking out. Whistleblowers help Congress and the public identify and understand what corruption in our government looks like. Their disclosures fuel investigations and allow us to address wrongdoing and hold those responsible to account. That's why there has historically been strong bipartisan consensus about the necessity of protecting whistleblowers. Doing so protects the country and ensures our government is responsive and accountable to the people. Unfortunately, blowing the whistle comes at great personal risk. Whistleblowers risk losing their jobs, careers, livelihoods, and reputations. By speaking out, they expose themselves to potential retaliatory investigations, lawsuits, or even serious criminal charges. That retaliation can cause significant mental, emotional, and psychological harm. They take on all of that risk simply by trying to do the right thing and ensure that agencies fulfill their core missions and serve the best interests of the people. Agency officials who retaliate against whistleblowers do not just violate whistleblowers' legal rights, they also inflict real harm on our government and betray the public's trust, targeting whistleblowers instead of the corruption they expose, waste agency resources while allowing wrongdoing to continue unaddressed. Furthermore, retaliation doesn't just impact an individual whistleblower, it has a chilling effect across an agency, quieting dissent and free speech, fostering a climate of fear and distrust, and deterring potential whistleblowers from coming forward in the future. Real quick, just to break up the reading, I kind of wanted to play this, just some kind of like, let me see. Okay, so yeah, we'll play this one again here. I thought it gonna work. Okay, well, I'll play it up here. I could do it up here.
After several visits to D.C. at the request of members of Congress at my own expense, we were given cancellations at the last minute. After coming back home again, I made it clear the last time that I had a pre-existing commitment. I was given 3 days notice and no guarantees while having committed to speaking in Oregon publicly available. Luna knows the truth and we have the emails to prove it. I will chalk this up to her not being informed by her staff and an innocent mistake, I hope. Otherwise, let this be a lesson to future whistleblowers who want congressional protections. This is all about media attention and less about truth. I hope this is not the case, and I suspect Chris Mellon and others at UAPDF that know the truth may have more to say about this.
Well, this is all the
I
last
reached
few
out to
weeks
some
here.
of the biggest names in UFO lore, okay? And they all got skiff flu, and we call it skiff flu, meaning like the day that the skiff was open that we reserved it, we're like, we're here, like, come on, come brief us. They get sick or
and
their
they didn't
dog
recover
dies.
and come back.
They didn't recover, and then they just don't talk to us anymore. So
They ghost you?
They ghost us. Yeah. So I'm like, well, if you're not going to tell me to skiff, then you're full of crap.
Or you're scared for your life because you're
That-
just a scientist who doesn't. Maybe they got threatened. Maybe.
So that was a few weeks ago, and I'm just going to kind of quickly summarize because I think it's all connected, right? I feel like this is and maybe when I play the other clips, and even what we just heard, the breaking news, like this dude's added here all of a sudden. In response to that whole skiff flu thing that happened like a few weeks back, Luna said, because Lou's thing that we just heard, her response to that was a strange and frankly bizarre post from someone I didn't even name. Lou Elizondo, you have my number, yet you went on X instead of contacting me directly. We'd been coordinating with the same organization that you were a part of, only to learn after the UAPDF roundtable that you had left. Correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like that's her alluding to Lou, like just straight up lying about shit. Regardless, you could have still come to the skiff at any time. As I told you, we'd work around your schedule. Let this be a lesson for all UAP whistleblowers. We have an open skiff policy. If you have information to share, we will gladly host you. How Lou handled this wasn't just immature, it was odd, especially since I never mentioned him by name. The fact is, he never returned despite our willingness to host him. And yes, I will still extend the invitation now. If you have anything, come in and brief us. We will get the skiff. It is 100% on you. And then she followed it up with this. Just talked to Comer regarding issuing subpoenas for certain individuals that developed skiff flu or had other things come up when we asked them to come in to divulge information to Congress, or all caps to Congress. What I love about this job is fleshing out the truth tellers from those that are trying to sell books and potentially be disingenuous in an effort to undermine our investigations. See you in the skiff.
And so far, David Grusch has been.
Here's a
someone
compilation
that
of
I've
stuff she said this week that I think kind of all plays into like, who the fuck is this dude? This surprise guest.
actually, and it's really bizarre to see the attacks that come into some of our witnesses, especially after we announce them. But so far, he's been able to not just help point us in the right direction as far as being able to turn over the correct rocks and then also flush out who both the good and bad actors are. But, you know, I was also in the military, and when I'm interacting...
So Grusch is helping her flush out who the good and bad actors are. Mind you, right? All the shit we'd hear about Kirkpatrick, I don't think I've ever heard her like threaten to subpoena Kirkpatrick like that. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people are catching on to like how shady some of the shit Lou's doing is. Grusch included. Yeah, again, why wasn't Lou and Stratton even named in George Knapp's thing?
With him, I do not get any sense that he is full of nonsense. I think that he takes this very seriously. And then when you realize that that he was actually, felt in fear of his life, and some weird things had happened prior to that first hearing. And then I would encourage all of you to actually reach out to him, because even just yesterday, I actually went into the skiff with David Grusch and Eric Burleson. And prior to that skiff meeting happening, there was something really bizarre that took place with David Grusch, and it's being handled at the law enforcement level. But, things like that happening are not normal, especially being that David Grusch is currently Eric Burleson's congressional staffer. And so you're seeing a lot of stuff now flush out. And what I can tell you is we are trying to actively push to release the information that we've seen to the American people. And so again, you have this aspect of this disinformation campaign that's taking place, trying to discredit it. And I frankly don't care at this point, because what I can tell you is the people that are genuinely interested in the actual science of this, the people like Dr. Avi Loeb who are looking, who actually can provide the data to back this stuff up, those people know the truth. And so we're not necessarily doing this for the people. Going back to what I found to be a really interesting disinformation campaign that I'm watching take place in real time. I think that these former heads, former directors of these agencies that have been known to lie to Congress and put out false information, blockade investigations, those people should be held criminally accountable. But that would be up to the Department of Justice.
I mean, I feel like
And
this
so
is
I
all
think-
about Lou and maybe Kirkpatrick, but definitely Lou, all this shit she's been talking.
Getting something on the books, again, the UAP Disclosure Act, something with teeth that can actually help push this forward would be
actively getting pushback on our need to know clearances, just so you know.
From the DOD?
From intelligence agencies, but they're saying that they can't find the authorizing agency to actually give us clearance, which is so crazy.
That seems like a silly question, or it seems like a silly thing, because wouldn't the intelligence agencies have that information?
Correct. So you can see that on our end too. We're still working through stuff, but it is really interesting when you look into some of these people's backgrounds, and I can tell you that we still have been unable to confirm certain people in SCIFs. And so, until those criteria are met.
Did you guys pick up on that? I mean, I don't think, has she had an issue with getting Kirkpatrick in a skiff? I think it's the opposite. I think Kirkpatrick's like too down to be in the skiff with them. And he's not even active Arrow anymore.
He claimed that he would come in and testify and come talk, but he offered that to them, but they didn't take him up on it. That's what he claimed the other day.
But even now, right? Would he even be? He's like out, right? It wouldn't even. Does it even apply to him?
I don't know. It's a weird
I think
one,
this
dude.
is more about Lou, right? Like Lou is the one that's like that. There's all this skiff drama around.
Well, no, it could be Christopher Mellon too. Mellon was another person who he was the one that got sick, right? So it could be him.
I mean, maybe it's both of them, but I think definitely Lou. And what was interesting in the background that she found.
I mean, they want to talk to everybody who they still haven't talked to yet. They're trying to get everything together.
Maybe.
And I can tell you that we still have been unable to.
Okay. Well, let's get back to this thing real quick. Okay. I mean, I don't know if we really have to read it's basically just like a bunch of shit about how their organization is the shit and they are here to protect whistleblowers against like kind of reprisals and stuff like that. So, and remember that was a part of the title of the whole thing. The title of the hearing tomorrow is like partly about this. So I think just kind of like more meat on the bones for this kind of thing. And I don't know, like it does honestly feel kind of oppy, but when I was like looking through this place, I was like, oh shit, this is the perfect place to send all that shit to. And I bet you Grusch is probably talking to them all about some of the shit he's experienced. And I mean, we heard from Burleson, right, that like Grusch doesn't think Stratton's a high priority dude. Elizondo's lawyer is saying that Grusch threatened to subpoena him too. I just feel like there's all this weird bad blood there that I feel like this is related to. Tupo, I don't know. Am I crazy for thinking these are related or no?
I don't think so. Their public stuff was like there, it was bad, the little dispute they had, and the subpoena, those threats and everything. I don't think that she would make those threats, so close before a hearing without having any kind of way to back it up or any kind of like intention to back it up. I think she's fully on board with wondering why. I mean, why? The language she used against Lou was some of the strongest used against anyone for her position. Like saying like not only was Lou's reaction like immature but odd. Like it's begging the reader to like ask more questions, to like be like, oh, that, you know what I mean? To be more suspicious.
I'm reading this part is like Lou was still trying to act like he was part of the UAPDF when he had already been fired, kind of vibe.
Yep.
Right? Yep. I mean, like, what else how else can you read this? Definitely something weird happened, right? We'd been coordinating with the same organization you were a part of, only to learn after the UAPDF roundtable that you had left. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know what that's about.
Yeah, he was operating, maybe letting her believe he was still talking on behalf of the UAPDF when he was not.
I really do think that learn interesting things about their past. I mean, I think she might have learned about Sifa, bro. I mean, is there anything about Kirkpatrick's past that like people just recently learned about that's kind of crazy in relation to like retaliations against whistleblowers and this kind of weirdo behavior?
I don't know. I don't think so. How would she have learned about that? Her staffers? I mean, and why has it eluded everyone for so long?
Yeah,
I don't know. I still don't know like the bad blood with Kirkpatrick and Grusch from 2015 or whatever. I still want to know what's going on with that. It's still a weird one. I don't know. I've never had anybody really give me a good answer on how they interacted back then and stuff like that's weird.
People, like you said, right, to follow this up the next day with like, we're subpoenaing you. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't normal vibe. When is it gonna hit people that like there's some like this dude is like on the outs in a way that like has never been seen before?
No, and it's
it hasn't hit people yet, huh?
No, it hasn't. His book buried him. And that people didn't pick up on that right away. The language he used, the lies he told, the weird, you know what I mean, all of that was bad. And then when it was followed up by those, you know, weird in-person kind of meetings, and then the congressional hearing, and he spent his time, you know, claiming he was a victim of harassment. Just such a bizarre thing.
Well,
for him
and
to
I've
spend
heard
his
this.
time to
I've
do.
heard this in the back channel, and actually, we have to do his fucking Discord or some shit after this stream, bro. But from someone who claims to know Grusch, they say that like Grusch basically did the thing a lot of us have done, like came out here, thought this dude was true, and then realized like, oh shit, was he behind some of the shit that happened to me? And like, now I don't fuck with him at all. I don't know. I don't even know if I believe it from the person, but I think the behavior already kind of indicates that publicly. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Lou's lawyer was crashing out 2 weeks ago about everyone's threatening to subpoena Lou. Like, it's just, I don't know, man. I think it's
think
fucking,
about it.
it's we're watching it happen, bro.
Put yourself in the shoes of Grusch and Luna and look at the behavior of Lou's alleged attorney and think about if that behavior would inspire confidence. There's no way.
Yeah, and I think I have some of that too. Let's see.
And so far,
Which ufology hero tried to get two morons with UAPDF to coerce me into threatening my own client to say whatever it is he wanted to say in a skiff that he couldn't even get into. I told those fools I would never betray my professional duties of loyalty and was disgusted by their creepy threats, which included a threat of subpoena. Subpoena for one, subpoena for all. Preserve all your private texts and email and
This kind of reminds me of that
please.
shit they were trying to do with Greer today. Like Grusch is creepy. Grusch is sending people out. Grusch is doing all this weirdo shit, which there's just a mountain of evidence for this dude actually doing all that shit. You know what I mean?
I'm done playing nice. In the week before the April 29th, 2025 skiff briefing, I received a signal call from Dylan Guthrie, acting attorney for the UAP Disclosure Fund, and Jordan Flowers, UAPDF's executive director. They said that David Grusch had been in ongoing contact with UAPDF's founder and then executive director, Yuan Feng, and that Mr. Flowers himself had spoken directly with Mr. Grusch. They told me that Mr. Grusch had communicated that Lou Elizondo better give up the red meat in the skiff, which I understood as a demand for classified information. I told him I had no idea what the red meat was because I have never asked Mr. Elizondo for classified material, nor has he shared any with me to my knowledge. I further made clear that I would never in a million years encourage Mr. Elizondo to disclose classified information he is not authorized to share. Mr. Elizondo can only disclose what has been approved by the executive branch. Mr. Guthrie and Mr. Flowers became upset at my refusal to influence Mr. Elizondo. They threatened that Mr. Grusch could cause a subpoena to be issued. I responded that subpoenas are no threat, that Mr. Elizondo is a volunteer witness, and that it makes no sense to try to compel him. I told them never to direct me on behalf of Mr. Grusch or anyone else about what to tell my clients. I emphasized that I would only advise Mr. Elizondo to tell the truth within the limits of his executive branch permissions. Notably, Representative Luna has now spoken publicly about subpoenaing Mr. Elizondo, forcing this unfortunate circumstance. I have already discussed this disturbing matter with Mr. Burleson. I have every confidence that Mr. Burleson will act in accord with his conscience. And 18 USC Section 122, 18 U.S.
Messages to that. I mean, yeah, this is all within the past few weeks. Like, shit's really weird. Mike, what do you think? Is shit weird for Leo, or are we just coping too hard and creating some like QAnon alternate reality where it's like all our dreams are coming true and he's being held accountable for the shit he did?
It's a circus. I mean, I don't know if you want to say held accountable, but he definitely had to take a step back after that picture, and I think we can all kind of acknowledge that there. And this whole lawyer thing blew my mind. This whole Elizondo versus Grusch off is crazy.
It is crazy, yeah.
Not crazy
But
for
I
me
don't
and Tupa, huh?
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, like, for me, to be honest, I'm kind of waiting to see when he goes ends up going to the skiff. I think he will. I don't see how he could keep his rep and not go. I just don't see it. So he has to go at some point, in my opinion. And you can kind of see where the chips fall after that. You'll know more where you guys are going with this.
All right, so I think I'm just gonna read the last one, and luckily I think the last one's only 2 pages. But yeah, maybe not. Who knows? I mean, Lou Elizondo is the only one getting threatened with subpoenas. His lawyer and all his little fan group are crashing out. It seems like some of his little minions are like acting like they're afraid of getting in trouble and like trying to all of a sudden correct records on shit and whatnot. I don't know. Maybe I'm QAnon hopeful. And also, like I said, the Sifa shit. I think she was talking about Lou, and she was like, or what stuff could people have just learned about Kirkpatrick that would cause her to say that? And again, like I said, and we're gonna cover. And my other one is like Lou's little fan club was behind the doxing of David Grusch, and probably gave that info to Ken Klippenstein. And like if Grusch was all activated to be suing his lawyer about it, I'm sure he came across some of that shit. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. All right. Let's see. Oh shoot. Okay. Where's the picture I had of Homeboy? Oh, did I delete it? Damn it. Well, the last one we have here is Dylan Borland. I think I have a picture of him somewhere. Let me find it so just so we could like see what he looks like first. And this is the last one we're gonna read because yeah, I'm just gonna say we're just gonna watch the other ones tomorrow anyways. So let me see, where's the 4? Oh, here we go. So, and I guess just to recap, so this is Jeff Nicoteli. This is the Vandenberg dude. This is Chief Wiggins. This is the Navy active duty dude who we're not going to cover, but I did cover in my other stream. George Knapp, of course, we went through super in detail, his super long infinity page thing. And then this guy, Dylan Borland. I guess this is him here on the right. So I'm going to read his thing. And then we'll get it and we'll close it out and then eat some dinner, grubbing. Okay. Oh, God bless you, Dylan. I already love you, dude. It's only 2 pages. God bless this guy, bro.
Dude, I expected it to be longer than Naps, to be honest. With the secrecy kind of behind him, I was like, oh, this is going to be a 10, 12 pager.
He's an enlisted man. He's all about business.
Tell us, yeah.
Down to the business.
Real quick, I think you guys were saying that they were talking about this dude in the spaces earlier. Was there any like interesting information gleamed?
Well, I mean, again, he seemed to only have about 3 years of active service. I mean, not that that's anything to judge somebody off of, but it wasn't like this guy was some career active duty individual. So that was something worth noting.
Okay, that is worth noting. Thank you. And real quick, I think I forgot to shout this out. Ed, are you streaming the hearing? Yeah, I think I'm going to stream the hearing tomorrow. Like 6 a.m. or so. Oh, and Tupa, I mean, actually, no. I think, yeah, we'll talk about that later too. Sorry, everyone. Okay, ready? Whistleblower statement for the House Representative Task Force, Dylan Borland. I would like to express my gratitude for being invited to testify to the current task force created under the People's Chamber and the American public. As an American citizen, veteran, and intelligence community professional, it is an honor and privilege to serve under oath before you on behalf of our country. My name is Dylan Borland. I'm a former 1N1 geospatial intelligence specialist for the U.S. Air Force in an active duty enlisted capacity from 2010 to 2013. I also worked for BAE Systems and Interpret Solutions as a senior analyst. Didn't Ryan Graves work there? I think he did. And I think maybe even on Jolly. Systems and Interpret Solutions as a senior analyst, an expert in analyzing video, radar, and advanced electro-optical imagery for official identification of aerial order of battle, as well as naval and ground. I am a federal whistleblower, having testified to both the Intelligence Community Inspector General and All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, ARROW. with direct first-hand knowledge of and experience with craft and technologies commonly known as UFO or UAP that are not ours and that are reportedly operating without congressional oversight. Because of my direct knowledge of the reality of certain legacy UAP programs, my professional career was deliberately obstructed, and I have sustained reprisals from government agencies for more than a decade. For more than a decade? I hope they dig into this more, because I feel like it gets said a lot. Oh, and Tracy, thank you. What a day of mega revelations. You're doing amazing. Thank you. I'm afraid it's like we're just reading, like, you know what I mean? It could get so boring. But reprisals for over a decade? Interesting. Where the fuck were we? Here we go. From 2011 through 2013, I was stationed at Langley Air Force Base, Virginia, conducting 24-hour operations via manned and unmanned aerial vehicles for Special Operations Forces for the Global War on Terror. During the summer of 2012, my team was on standby for weather, and I returned to my barracks on base. At approximately 1:30, I saw an approximately 100-foot-long equilateral triangle fly from near the NASA hangar on base and come within 100 feet of where I was standing. This craft interfered with my telephone, did not have any sound, and the material it was made of appeared fluid or dynamic. So that's interesting. I think that's the first time we're getting in one of these, like, a first-hand interface, right? Like, it messed with my telephone. Well, I guess the radar on the Tic Tac one, but this one seems a little more, I don't know, a little more personal. This craft interfered with my telephone, did not have any sound, and the material it was made of appeared fluid or dynamic. I was under this triangular craft for a few minutes, and then it rapidly ascended to a commercial jet level in seconds. It displayed zero kinetic disturbance, sound, or wind displacement. Some years after the experience, I was further exposed to classified... Oh, this is interesting and weird and kind of random. Some years after that experience, I was further exposed to classified information from the UAP Legacy Crash Retrieval Program through a sensitive position I held within a special access program. During this time, intelligence officers approached me in fear for their own careers, citing misconduct within these programs and the same retaliation I was already enduring. So he's saying that he was exposed to the Crash Retrieval Program, right? Interesting. Manny says here real quick, BAE is a large IC contractor, one of the largest Pacific architect and engineers. They handle a ton of contracts for things like facility maintaining and setup of hardware like satellite dishes. Oh, cool. These issues included medical malpractice by Veterans Affairs staff. Holy shit. Oh my God. You know who that might be about, bro? I might be coping too hard. That might literally be about Swan, because he used to work for the VA. I'm just saying. I'm not even kidding, bro.
Dun, dun, dun. Oh, it's Swan. Oh my gosh.
I mean, Swan is the person who doxed David Grusch and who Leslie Keane and Ralph Blumenthal, the authors of the article, said like was responsible basically for it, right? Like he's not, like, it's so retarded, I know, but it's like he's not just some nobody, right? And he definitely worked for the VA during that time. Mike Disclosure even said that he helped like get that McCain those benefits to those workers. I'm gonna see if I could
well, here, I'm just gonna say medical malpractice, I don't think he's ever in a position to do something like that. This sounds to me like somebody who's a clinician was doing something that they shouldn't have been doing because they didn't have the proper information.
So like purposely physically harming them?
Or no, not giving them the right treatments. You know what I mean?
But like on purpose though, right? He's kind of
okay. Correct.
Maybe. The issues included medical malpractice by Veterans Affairs staff, denial of work I performed while enlisted in the U.S. Air Force, forged and manipulated employment documents, workplace harassment, including colleagues being directed not to speak with me, and the manipulation of my security clearance records by certain agencies to block or delay my access to classified employment. See, this is what I really want them to dig into tomorrow. Is like I want more specifics. I want to get like as specific as we can with like all these claims and allegations. I'm not saying it's not true or whatever. The retaliation I faced and the retaliation against individuals I know who worked in these programs is what convinced me in March of 2023 to become a whistleblower. I came forward out of concern for people's lives and to ensure I did everything I could to let our elected representatives know the truth about what is really happening within the executive branch. At the end of March 2023, I agreed to meet with Arrow, following the suggestion of other federal officials, believing it was what our nation required of me. I had reservations about Arrow due to assessments they were reporting publicly at the time as misrepresentations of the truth. Because of these concerns, I did not share sources and methods information to protect current and former federal personnel who had first-hand exposure to technologies of unknown origin. I did not want anyone to face further retaliation beyond what they had already endured. I'll just say here, and I'm curious what Manny thinks. Manny, do you think is it the same batch of people, or is this like a different batch of people that we don't know? I'm probably going to be saying, but after David Grusch testified under oath in the summer of 2023 and provided historic disclosure, I was then asked to go to the ICIG, and I did so in August 2023. It was very clear early on during my intake interview, which was video recorded under oath, that their objective was solely to assess just how much I know, not to move forward with any investigation based on new information. The aftermath of that IG complaint still troubles me to this day. Since my ICIG complaint, I've been prevented from resuming my prior employment and can confirm I am still blacklisted from certain agencies within the intel community. In addition, multiple agencies attempted phishing attacks to access what I had divulged to the Inspector General. Who do we know that does that in this community? Crazy. It's gonna take. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm creating some QAnon fucking thing, but it's like everything's lining up here, guys. If you're paying attention, including being asked to disclose details of my ICIG complaint during a CI polygraph for a position entirely unrelated to UFO UAP matters in November 2024. As I sit before you today, I and many other whistleblowers have no job prospects and no foreseeable professional future in a nation all of us came forward to defend. That's kind of weird. I mean, like, you could technically get a job at Target, though, couldn't you? Like, you know what I mean? Is the deep state?
But I mean, no
is there a Target
foreseeable
clearance that got
professional.
revoked?
He's saying no foreseeable professional future. You know, that's a little different than just saying like, "Hey, I could work at Target." You know,
His
what I mean?
career, Red. Yeah, his career.
Okay. I'm not trying to be a hater either. I'm just like, I don't know. Numerous individuals have come forward in various ways to reveal the truth of the UAP reality as patriots and defenders of our nation. Yet many feel discarded, isolated, and hopeless, separated from the country they serve. Efforts to rectify the situation for all whistleblowers have been difficult and troubling. And to my fellow whistleblowers and officials who have encountered these programs, I offer my apology that you are in this position. I swore an oath to the Constitution of the United States, an oath that demands truth and transparency for our democratic republic to function. Each day these truths remain hidden from our citizens, humanity drifts further from the principles our nation was founded to uphold. Each day that victims of crimes committed by agencies and companies maintaining the secrecy are denied justice is another day the Constitution is effectively shredded. In 2023, Patriots provided this committee and the executive branch with undeniable proof of the UAP reality, and I commend your continued commitment. The future of humanity is one in which we either travel to the stars or regress to the Stone Age with this technology. My career has been to deliver critical information to decision makers. Your role as elected representatives of the people is to act on it. The time to act is now. Respectfully, Dylan Borland.
Shades of Matthew Brown in those last two paragraphs, huh?
A little bit, huh?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, you're right.
It's not exactly, but it's shades. That's what I got when I read it the first time.
I guess maybe you just can't help but get like philosophical with this shit when they do this, but
yeah, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, Tracy says all the dots are lining up. Oh, all the bots are lining up. That's funny. Well, yeah, I'm I did not for some reason I thought this wouldn't be that long of a thing, but it should have made sense with the George Knapp one.
What's the consensus, Mike? You think this is like supposedly one of the 40 that Grusch had? You think that's what?
Yeah. What do you think about this guy?
I think it's probably he's probably one of the 40, considering how early he went to the ICIG and all that stuff.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
I'm just saying. I mean, I'm telling you, this is shaping up, man. If you were Luke right now, how would you be feeling, Mike?
I think Luke Crew pretty pumped. You know what I mean? We got let me just go over this lineup before. I mean, you got Knapp going out there, and I mean,
He didn't even name Lou though.
Yeah, he didn't. I don't think I don't know if Elizondo is going to be named at all in any of this stuff tonight. I mean, is Jeff Nucatelli going to say anything? I didn't really
Yeah,
read his.
he was gonna say something. I skimmed through theirs, and there was just basically kind of just like what we'd already covered. In like this guy, no one knew about. The other guy was randomly added. I mean, like, okay, Mike, how about the dude who was randomly added? Let me see. What was his name? Joseph Spielberger or something like that?
Yeah, and he doesn't even really mention UAPs at all.
Yeah, so what do you think his whole thing is going to be about?
I think it's just going to be about actual whistleblower protections and government oversight. You know, I think this is some of the Democrats don't think this is something that's a legitimate hearing, so they're trying to put this guy in, and I don't think he's a pro UAP person.
The one thing that stuck out to me about the document from him was he has a little, like, they have recommendations to Congress, and one of the bullet points is this. It says establish an independent mechanism for intelligence and military whistleblowers who face additional institutional hurdles to make lawful disclosures and empower independent adjudicators to provide appropriate and timely due process relief for whistleblowers and retaliations. So that's kind of like almost Arrow, right? But they want like a different one. And if you read more of it, it's like mainly because the connections, I think, to the DOD with Arrow, and they kind of want something that has no connection to any kind of intelligence system like that. So, which, like, I get it, but it's, you know, there is Arrow there already. So I don't know. It's a weird one, man.
They need to definitely steer clear of having connections to DOD. So I think that's obviously, I would welcome this more than I would welcome Arrow. But I think both are kind of important.
Yeah, I understand a lot of the gripes with Arrow. I have issues with Arrow, dude, too. But they are, asking for something that's kind of already there, right? So it's kind of weird,
True.
Well, any other thoughts, guys? I'm starving and burnt out. I mean, I'm excited for tomorrow. Fuck, what time is that going to be again? 10 a.m.
Yeah,
Eastern time, right?
10 Eastern. Yeah. The only thing is what Joe Khalil tweeted out, there's going to be 3 videos that are going to be shown tomorrow. 2 of them we've seen in the public and 1 we haven't. I'm assuming one of them is going to be the Wiggins, the 4 TikTok video that we've already seen. But the unknown one, maybe this is coming from Dylan Borland, dude. Image guy. I don't know. Maybe it's coming from him. Who knows?
So new UAP video, maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, I'd hope so. See something interesting. Shit, dude.
What is Satanic doing right now? What the hell? Okay, here we go. I got the Joe KL thing up. Here we go. So yeah, this is the News Nation reporter guy. Yeah, so he said, I can confirm tomorrow's House oversight. 1 video that has never been viewed. Is it going to blow us off our feed or whatever? Oh, is Tuba back? Tuba's back.
Yo. Sorry, my
up,
computer keeps crashing.
Oh, they're freaking out right now, dude. I'm telling you. It's funny when we could like pick up on shit and then it's like we get another piece of info and they're like, oh, that's why. It's like, that's why this mythical third party that we've heard about for like 3 years. Now all of a sudden there's all this evidence for them. Darcy Weir's all of a sudden coming in our space. I'm like,
oh, you know what? I didn't get Mike or Terrestrial's reaction. I announced today that something I've been holding on to for a while, but like I was personally invited by one of them, a member of Congress, to the hearing, and was told I'd have a seat reserved for me. I wouldn't have to wait in line, and that they would save time for me after the thing so I could ask him some questions.
Which I think is another important data point to this whole fucking thing. Like they're at all this, there's a lot of shit about like the weirdness going on. Everyone knows what you talk about.
Yeah,
I know for a fact
you've
been slandered to those Congress people before. I mean, do you want to reveal what it was or no?
I mean, I don't know. I think that's enough, right? You know what I mean? Because I think that person will be flooded with a bunch of hate shit.
Yeah. Let's keep our enemies guessing.
Now they can flood every staffer for every person, but that really happened. So I think that they're paying attention to at least some of this stuff.
That's interesting, dude.
Yeah,
that's pretty big. To have any access like that. It's pretty crazy,
bro. It's the biggest honor I've ever been.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's not something passive, but it just fell right in between my kids' birthday. There's just like too much shit going on, and as much as I'd want to go out there and be there for that, it's not a feather in my cap. You know,
better to go on a non-hearing thing and just get a like 30-minute chunk with some of these people to brief them on all this shit.
Oh, I'd
I
love to
think-
talk to all of them. I'd love to do all that stuff, but you know, I don't really trust DC either. So it's like a whole thing, you know what I mean? But it was yeah.
I mean, didn't Luna literally just say a staffer got a gun brandished to them?
Dude,
Can we
yes.
rewatch that?
Yes.
I think we should.
Yes.
That was the
Oh, and
breaking
I
news
will
of
say
today.
that like I have an open invite to every UFO hearing as long as the task force is in the mix. So
That was the verbiage used, and I did see that. And so if there is another hearing, hopefully they'll give it more time to prepare.
Yeah, that's
but,
another
but they
reason
might
why
be
I
trying
was
to psyop us though, dude, because I didn't get that DM. Might be a little
Dude, I don't
diversion
know.
tactic.
I have no idea, but it's just one of those things where it says that they're paying attention. It says, you know what I mean, that I think there was some kind of embargo on us that's lifted. I don't know if we worked through that the hard way by getting, you know what I mean, by like getting follows, by getting traction, by putting out content or what, but you know, that's the direction this is all going.
Well, what I think it is too is we've definitely been slandered to certain people, and like we kind of represent like a camp, if you will, of like talking about certain things that certain other people won't. Like, again, no offense, but Gerb, like we all saw how he's about talking about Lou. So when certain people like brush up against that, right? Like they'll gravitate to us. Like I don't think it's random that Burleson hopped in your space when all this weirdness was going on with Lou, right? Because we've seen it happen before with other people, just like on smaller scales. But anyways,
yeah,
we'll play
good
this
point.
and then I'll close this down here.
We have some good testimony from witnesses. Not to mention, again, you should ask Grusch about the weird incident that happened prior to him going into the skiff with me and Representative Burleson. Something happened as he was driving in to do a VTC with us. So it's very interesting kind of handling this topic. Obviously, you know, anytime someone says, no, don't look there, you know me, Cuomo, I always tend to look and see what we can find. And what I can tell you is, you know, there are many people from all across the DOD, across the entire U.S. government. Over 30 people, to include our own Secretary of State, have come forward and said, you know, there's something here. And so I think to question it, to look at the evidence, and then decide for yourself what you have to see on the matter.
Joe Khalil, News Nation, got us the reporting. You can't just throw the Grusch thing out there like that and not tell me what do you know about it? And why do I have to ask him? Do you know what it is?
Because I don't want to take that away from him, and law enforcement is involved. But in my opinion, if you are going to brandish any weapons at congressional staffers, it's very alarming, and I will leave it at that. But what I can tell you is it was very interesting in timing, and based on what we've heard previously with some of these witnesses, to include some witness testimony that you'll hear tomorrow, this is not the first documented case of this, which is incredibly important as to how do we address this in the future. First of all, whistleblower protections need to be a lot stronger. We also have different UAP legislation where these members of Congress are coming together. And I do think that also, you know, there's a lot going on in the Hill. As you know, Cuomo, there's a lot of partisan stuff, but this is one of the few bipartisan things that we've been collectively able to work on together.
Right, and I think with that, I'm going to close out. Anyone have something else I want to say before I shut it down?
Yeah. Oh, this kind of makes sense now a little bit. So POGO is going to be there. That pops up right after this. Now we know that Luna doesn't like Arrow.
Yes.
And now what is POGO offering? POGO is saying we need a new group outside of Arrow. That's interesting.
Yeah, huh? No mention of like the FBI taking it over, which had kind of been a talking point. We'll see. We'll see where that
that's
goes.
interesting. Yeah. I don't know.
I haven't seen her. Maybe I missed it, but I haven't seen her threaten to subpoena Kirkpatrick. I just saw him. She called him a liar, but I don't know. I think she kind of used Lou and Kirkpatrick the same. To be honest, that's the vibe I get.
I mean, there's a lot of subpoenas that aren't out there that we haven't seen yet. I mean, like I said earlier, when you look at George Knapp's thing, talking for Lacatski, I mean, that's one they need to get him in there. So we'll have to see what happens with it. That task force, I think, only has until the end of the year. And that's a big deal because the subpoena power, I think, goes out the window when they lose Comer and them. So they've got to kind of, you know, get things moving if they're going to do something with that stuff.
And Bo's saying, what's a tupa? Yeah, we got to hit that. I forgot to hit it when you came up. Darn it.
I don't know anyone called Big Homie. Tupa. I don't know who Tupa is. Is he a rapper or something? I'm sorry, I've just got no idea what that's about. I have no leads on that at all. You'll have to be more specific.
And that's why we ask, Ross, because we know you'll.
All right. I think I'm going to close it out then.
Great
fellas.
stream, man. Great stream.
That shit fucking, I forgot how much I hate reading out loud.
It's the worst.
It's the worst, bro.
You guys crushed it, though. You crushed it.
Yeah. I'll be doing this tomorrow. I mean, Tiba, if you're around, definitely hop in.
I'm going to be around tomorrow morning. We're going
There
to.
was also something
I
might even do 2 a day and just go solo later because there was. Did you see that document that Courtney Montesati dropped?
No.
And then deleted. It was
No.
basically communications allegedly between Jake Barber and that guy John Estridge, who was like a high-level staffer, talking about some crazy shit and like helicopter harassment and all this crazy stuff.
The Marco Rubio staffer guy?
I think so.
Yeah, I think that's him, yeah.
Did anyone else get a chance to look at that document before it was taken down?
No, I didn't see it.
Shit. Yeah, we're gonna have to do it. But yeah, all right, guys. Maybe I'll be in a space till then. God bless you all. Thank you guys, my friends, for being
Later.
here.
God
Excited
bless,
for
God
tomorrow.
bless.
I'm excited still. It's gonna be fun. Hell yeah. But yeah,
Yeah,
peace,
for
guys.
sure.
Peace,
Yeah.
man.
Boom.